All right, welcome in. Is it echoing?
No,
there an echo?
better not be echo. It sounds good.
Okay.
There's no
We
echo.
haven't touched a thing. No.
All right. Welcome in. Huge day here on the Culotta Show. It is Tooth Day.
Oh,
As
God.
I'm heading over to Johnson Spillers, I'm fired up about today. If you have grown to love the snaggletooth, which I kind of have. Easy, bro.
I
The
know.
last day.
I don't notice it until you draw attention to it. Don't rub your tongue on it. That's weird. Wait, it looks different now.
It
It's
looks
time.
Get out of there. All right, Johnson Spillers today, 10 a.m. I'm fired up about this. Hopefully,
know.
but I don't know if today's the big day.
What?
I really don't know if like today is the
D-Day?
last send-off. I don't know if today's graduation.
What else could there be?
I don't know. I don't know.
Well, he acts like he's excited about things. He's like, I got an alarm at 6 a.m. that said I was getting my tooth done today.
I love that you
But I
didn't
mean,
know it.
Counting down
Everything's
the
been
days.
set on like 2 months schedule, so I'd imagine that today's a huge day, man.
Was it not in your? You didn't have this in your calendar?
I did,
Okay.
but my alert was set for some reason for like 4 hours before rather than the day before.
God.
I got it at 6 a.m. All right, so today's show, we're going to talk to Brodie Miller coming up here at 8 a.m. Brodie's got some good write-ups on LSU football as we will check the latest with Brodie. Obviously, a lot of stuff to talk about with Brodie. LSU gets a transfer quarterback in, obviously, and Daniels out of Arizona State. Jayden Daniels out of Arizona State. We'll ask him about the impact on the quarterback room, what he expects in spring. With that just around the corner, what's that mean for the shuffle of the quarterback rotation? All of that coming up here at 8 a.m. SEC basketball tournament starts later this week in Tampa. That's going to be pretty good competition over there as LSU's got the 5 seed. They're waiting on the winner of Ole Miss, Missouri. And then they win that game, they'll play Arkansas. We will talk to John Brady of the LSU Sports Radio Network coming up here at 7:30 this morning. We'll get his thoughts on LSU's regular season ending win over Alabama and a look ahead to the SEC basketball tournament with Coach Brady coming up here at 7:30 this morning. It is Tiger Trivia Tuesday,
Ooh.
which we've been having going on a couple of weeks here on the Jordy Culotta Show.
Did you look at the answers? I tried to just kind of avoid the
Why-
answers.
No.
Why did you put the
I don't-
answer?
I didn't do
This
that.
guy.
That was Jackie
That
Boy.
was Jackie
But he's
Boy.
doing it the right way.
Jackie
We gotta
Boy,
know.
he
I mean, we
is.
gotta know.
Well, we
Yeah,
could
right.
take him out,
Let's
right?
have a little procedure
I haven't
here.
looked at him yet.
No answers.
No answers.
All right,
I
I'm
know
gonna
so
take the
many.
answers out. Take the answers out.
Did you know him? I
I'm
haven't
so
really read them
dangerous.
because I was
I
scared.
knew the first one.
I did know the first one.
Are we going to do all of them? Do we have that many? This is my concern with Trivia Tuesday, that if we throw 5 questions out there every time, we'll run out. But he has a lot of confidence in this book, this trivia book he has.
I
So.
think this book is right.
Yeah.
It's pretty. It's been spot on lately.
Oh, no, I know the answers are right. I'm saying I hope we just don't run out of content.
No, I think we're good, man.
Okay.
Cody Boudreaux, $10 Happy Tooth Day. Thank you, buddy. Brandon Hollingsworth, the tooth is getting fixed. Dan, what are we going to stare at the whole time? I know, bro. I get it. Meetings, I can see people's eyes are just
No one is.
mesmerized
No one
by
is.
this thing.
It's
Because when
become-
you talk, it's not like front and center. You don't see like your.
I've
all
become
your
very
front
self-conscious
teeth.
of it.
He does.
Okay.
The more like when he
Yeah.
talks for a long period of time, or when he's in a room with just you, he'll suck on it a little bit. He'll start like he's like, is he looking at my tooth? You can see the time.
Yeah.
He's got a clock in his head.
It
About he's
is.
like a quarterback.
Yeah.
Time to get out the pocket.
Right, 7 seconds. Somebody's about to hit me.
Somebody's coming.
Somebody's going to get my blind side. All right, so that's coming up to here today on the Jordy Culotta Show. Remember, we're driven and powered by Go Chevrolet, our friends over at Go Chevrolet, Go Express Auto Sales, GEAUX, Chevrolet.com. Every single day driving and powering us over in LaPlace for brand new cars and in Baton Rouge for Go Express Auto Sales. Alvin Kamara, court date today. First court date in Las Vegas.
Free him.
Please. Free
Well,
him.
we have him.
$10,000 fine. We do. Compliments of Mark Freshart, Mark Verrett on Instagram. But today,
Wait, how much fine?
the fine is up to $10,000. I saw, but the jail time,
He's
if
not going to
convicted,
jail.
Oh, Mo Bart's got this one.
Yeah, he's
1
not
to
going
10
jail.
years.
Should have just been gambling on sports.
Yeah, Calvin Ridley
I
suspended
didn't
for a
know.
season.
I didn't know that was such a huge deal.
What,
I looked back
athletes
and,
gambling on
yeah,
sports?
and realized like all the ones in history who have gotten trouble.
Think
for
about the
that.
ones that haven't gotten caught.
I mean, right?
Michael Jordan, we're looking at you.
Wait,
Absolutely.
have y'all seen
Well,
the?
did he get caught?
He did. Had to go play baseball.
Have y'all seen the Deshaun Jackson videos?
No.
it just looks like he's shaving points. Like the way he catches the ball and he like runs backwards, lets the dude strip him. Like it just, I don't know, man. It just doesn't look right.
Something for the NFL to keep tabs on.
Well, I mean, if the NFL is going to get in bed with gambling and put a franchise in Las Vegas and have DraftKings as a corporate sponsor and a partner, to look up and see that a player put $1,500 down on a couple of parlays and bet on his team to win, is it that big of a deal? I get that in the CBA and the collective bargaining agreement, this is all agreed upon. If you bet on football and you're a player, you're suspended for a season. It's a pretty cut and dry issue, right? I mean, it's the rules right there. You broke it. There's the consequence. You're done. So I get that. I understand that part of it. But when you take a step back and look, and I was reading Lloyd sent over this morning in the document. I was reading a little bit about it this morning. In fact, I finished the article on the NFL that's over at Sports Illustrated, and I'm going to make sure and get the author correct here, as I believe it was Jeff Pash was the author on it, who's a former NFL executive, and they dive in to the Washington football team scandal that is happening with Daniel Snyder and Bruce Allen and everything that had gone on, during that time, during Washington and what was going on with the business and the stuff that they're really kind of covering up. It's very evident that they are covering up somebody, something, some behavior for somebody, for the NFL. It looks like the owner. It looks like Daniel Snyder. Andrew Brandt over at SI has a article titled "Business of Football: Leaked Washington Football Team Emails Show How NFL Sausage is Made." And this was published on October 27th of 2021, but it is an in-depth look at how John Gruden, had some deplorable emails that were surfaced over the history of a relationship with a Washington football team executive. And it very much looks, even though Gruden's behavior and language is inexplicable, it very much looks like Gruden is the fall guy in a bigger cover-up of scandal, of a workplace environment that sexual harassment was evident daily. It was there every day. The cheerleaders were put in compromising situations in front of fundraising efforts and taking on business trips and on airplanes. I didn't know
that about the cheerleader stuff. I knew about treatment of his employees, but what?
Yeah, it's grimy. I mean, it is
so sleazy.
It is sleazy, man.
Good old billionaire behavior.
Exactly. I mean, it is a boys' club. I mean, on today, which is International Women's Day, and shout out to all the women out there. Especially Katie, who keeps us going, our absolute rock over here at FM Digital Media. Take her out of the equation, and we're homeless by 4 today.
Toothless.
Yeah, right. Toothless and homeless. That's right. And carless. Driving around in a 4-wheel drive vehicle before you know it.
Car stinks, dude.
So shout out to the International Women's Day. Shout out to all the women out there. International Women's Day.
Amelia Earhart, I know you're out there.
Bro.
But if we want to share the link, it's in the document, and we can put it inside of the YouTube chat, which is because it's a little bit of an older article over at SI, but
it's resurfaced now.
It's resurfaced just because of the NFL and what they're going through. Congress is now kind of jumping in and looking at the business of the NFL, and it talks about how the NFL can ignore the fans, they can ignore the media, they can ignore even like groups. Female-dominated groups who are coming at questioning the workplace environment of NFL franchises. And then you get a look at these leaked emails and see some of the favoritism that the NFL office shows to either certain personnel or certain organizations. And a lot of people think that Bruce Allen really has received special treatment here just because of his longevity and his relationships within the NFL. It's just a very grimy thing. I'm not leading off today's show with all the things that we have going on here locally with, the things that are in and around the NFL. But to see Calvin Ridley get suspended for a season after a $1,500 bet and you're partnered with, gambling apps and businesses and to read that article about the real true business of the NFL, it brings to the forefront, just the hypocrisy that the league operates under. I mean, it's a lot of the player safety argument that we always hear.
And they get to pick
You
and
want
choose.
player safety, but you want another game. You want another regular season game. You want 18 regular season games, but all of your efforts as you put into the public is about protecting the players. This is just more evidence of
the NFL getting to pick and choose what they deem important. Like, this goes all the way back to, you could say Ray Rice is when this kind of really was the windfall. There was no real suspension. Video comes out. Now the NFL feels like it's in trouble. Always a cover-up. But in other news, I think Calvin Ridley is my favorite player in the NFL now. Have you seen what he's been tweeting out?
tweets
He's
are-
just letting it
his tweets
fly.
are
Dude. It's unbelievable.
what's great.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is.
Because he's letting you know how dumb all of this is.
Yeah, I mean, like, look at so this is what y'all are worried about, right? Like, this is the
Exactly.
stuff that's keeping you up. And you're going to act so shocked by this, by the fact that all of this stuff is accessible. Now, I will say to Calvin that, look, man, there's there's all types of mechanisms put in place to make sure that the NFL players are not gambling on their own team and sport. So, you had to know you were going to get caught, right?
What was funny was he right when he got caught, he tweeted, "I learned from my L's."
Yeah. First gambler ever to do that.
Well, he has to. But think about it. He bet $1,500 he's going to lose $12 million. It's a hell of a loss.
Yeah, it
There's
is.
a lot of juice on that squeeze.
It's a hell of a loss, man.
That's what I said too. Whenever this news came out, and it was, the NFL was able to get with its corporate partners, all of the gambling apps or whatever, and they can kind of corroborate a story, and they were able to track down it was Calvin Ridley, and I was like, a bookie would never. He would
Right.
never rat you out if you did this, if you were betting on the NFL and you were an NFL player. The only way this could have happened is if they were in bed with the NFL. And it just, kind of makes you miss the olden days a little bit now that everything's legal. It's the only way to get in trouble.
Yeah, right?
That shady man on the corner would never if you had to give him $1,500. He's like, just pay up, dude. No big deal.
Right. All right, so jump inside of the chat app over on YouTube. Make sure and give us a like, a follow, a share over there. If you have not subscribed to the page, we appreciate that very much, as we are here daily 7 to 9 a.m., brought to you by Go Chevrolet. We're daily also brought to you by Metropolitan Health Group. Our phone line today brought to you by Metropolitan Health Group. Brodie Miller from The Athletic coming up here at 8 a.m. where we'll talk LSU football. And look, man, the more video I see on Jayden Daniels, especially from his freshman season. Now, he has regressed, right? He is one guy that got into college football. He had a lot of talent around him.
He didn't have a quarterback coach the last 2 seasons.
Okay. All right. Now, look, LSU was habitual for not having quarterback coaches during that time of quarterback play that was just like the Stone Ages of college football. When they went through that decade where they couldn't they couldn't find the guy, they also didn't have somebody that was paying attention to the guy every day. They didn't have a quarterback's coach. And one thing that we have heard –
Do you think that would have helped?
Seriously.
It's like, what's the biggest problem in LSU? A quarterback play.
Right.
You don't have a coach.
You don't have a coach.
No, we're good on that.
We're going to let Cam do it. We're going to let Cam do it. Okay.
Okay,
It makes
good.
a lot of
Toss
sense.
dogs.
The best man in your wedding, huh? All right. Thanks.
Toss
Said
dog.
he really wants to
toss
do it. Give it to Leonard.
So one thing that that has been evident through the past couple of weeks of LSU is that Joe Sloan must be a dude. The LSU quarterbacks coach has got a lot of respect when you ask just kind of who's standing out, who's somebody who has kind of made an impact. And Joe Sloan, whether it be in recruiting, whether it was, kind of getting the team back into the building and building some of those relationships through team meetings and being just in and around the facility. Joe Sloan has made a huge impact early on here in the Brian Kelly reign over LSU football. And I think he had a lot to do with Jayden Daniels' recruitment. And there was a lot of stock being put into the development of not only Daniels, but that entire quarterback room. I think that, even Kelly and Denbrock and the crew were looking forward to seeing what Sloan can maybe even do with a guy like Miles Brennan.
Were they actively looking for another quarterback?
Yes.
They
I mean,
were. Why, though?
obviously. I think when
is
you
it
lay
really
it out,
neat?
we talked a little bit about it yesterday, but I think when you lay it out, like if you were, I mean, we're big on the whiteboard here at FM Digital Media right now.
You
Which
are.
I mean, look around the whiteboard. You got a lot of great ideas.
many
A lot of,
I mean, a lot of great
well,
ideas.
execution is lacking on some.
No, but I think the execution started coming around because of the whiteboard.
Yes,
Its own-
because of the board.
Because of the
Execution
whiteboard,
needed its
right?
own
So,
whiteboard.
like, if we just put exactly, but if we just put on the whiteboard, right, the LSU quarterback room, and you just lay it out, it looks good on paper. But then you start to like think about it and break it down. Between Garrett Nussmeier and Miles Brennan, who are the two experienced guys in the room. So those you got Brennan, who's the senior, who's actually the junior. He's got 2 years of eligibility left, which is wild to think about, that Miles Brennan could still play 2 years of college football. And think about if he did it at LSU, how long. I mean, bro, that would make me feel good about that 7-year. That 7-year diploma,
hiatus.
general studies. I mean, even if Miles Brennan, I'm like, Miles, you did it, dude. I mean,
You invented the transfer
good
portal.
Lord. You're welcome, Miles.
This is the blueprint.
So you got Miles Brennan there, who is a redshirt junior.
A tenured professor.
But, has had a career. He's had 2 career starts, but he's got time in the program, has played, quality snaps. Then you've got Garrett Nussmeier, who's got 2 starts of his own. So between the experienced guys in the room, Nussmeier and Brennan, you got 4 starts. And then you've got an injured Walker Howard that you really don't want to rush to the field. You don't want to start his clock too fast where you got to rush his development. You want to take your time with him and make sure that when he's ready to play, that it's time to play. And when you step back at it and say, for Brian Kelly's point of view, or Mike Denbrock, the offensive coordinator, and say, this is our first-year selection of quarterbacks. While they have, some name recognition and they're guys that we can win with, do you trust that they can stay healthy and complete the season? Because they've never done it. So it's a fair question to ask and say, hey, look, if there's a quarterback that pops up in the portal, if there's somebody that becomes available that can jump into this competition and possibly win it, we need to go after them, speaking from LSU football's point of view. Right? Just because you like the room, but you don't love the room. I mean, you can win with the room, but you could also be in a tailspin with the room.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
I get it.
if Jayden Daniels is out there with the amount of starts that he has and the experience that he has in college football, does he need to improve? Yes. Does he have a skill set that adds another dimension to the room? He does. So I think from just an overall evaluation of fitting in, I think that he makes a ton of sense for LSU. He throws a lot of steam into the competition immediately. He's in spring. He's going to be on the field in spring ball. So you're going to get the best from everybody. I think you'll get a true evaluation of it. And I think Daniels, you can win with him. I really do. I think that he's a guy, he needs to get in the weight room. He needs to physically, I think, develop a little bit to, make it through an SEC schedule. But, when he had talent around him, his freshman year at Arizona State, and Arizona State was blown up by some NCAA sanctions and some stuff that came down on the program over the last couple of years. And, the talent just kind of evaporated. And I'm not saying that that's the sole reason for his drop-off, but when the talent was there around him, he was a big-time player. I mean, he went head-to-head with Justin Herbert his freshman year and outplayed Herbert.
Beat him.
He did. They beat him. And, he quarterback on quarterback play that day, Daniels was the better player. So the potential is there. He hasn't thrown to guys like Chris Hilton, Jack Besh, and Malik Neighbors, Keyshawn Butte. He hadn't had that type of selection around him, John Emery in the backfield. So I'm anxious to see in the competition what Daniels can add to the mix when he's got players around him that, are just as good as athletes. You don't have to save the day. Play breaks down and you can, shovel pass it up to John Emery or just kind of whip the ball out to an out route to Jack Besh or Neighbors or Butte, throw it down the field. These guys are playmakers. It'll be interesting to see what Daniels does to the competition. I think it was it was mindless to take him, right? Like, I think it was very easy of a choice to take him. And that's not dumping on any of the other guys. Because look, man, it wouldn't surprise me if Nussmeier wins this thing. Really, at this point today, I know the poll question yesterday from Southern Eye Center over on Jefferson Highway, we asked, who do you think is going to be the starter coming out of spring? I mean, really, as we sit here today, March 8th, a couple of weeks away from spring practice, Brian Kelly's first season, a true start over of evaluation from a coaching staff standpoint.
This was that game against Oregon. 22-32, 408 yards, 3 touchdowns.
Coach.
Is he a junior?
He's got 2 seasons left.
2 years left.
I mean, he can play. Like, he can play. I mean, so when he comes into this competition, he brings a little something different. And he brings, a little different juice. But as we sit here on Tuesday, March 8th, going into spring of LSU's first season under Brian Kelly, I think.
Well, and doesn't his play style kind of suit more of what Brian Kelly's done at multiple stops? Like, whenever you look at the quarterbacks he's had at Notre Dame, they're all mostly dual threats. Like, Tommy Rees would be the one that you would say is probably the most pocket passer of any of them. But other than that, he's had mobile quarterbacks every time stop, whether it be, Brendan Wimbush, Golston, like everybody
Malik
that he kind of brings. Malik Zaire. Who's the cat that went to Cleveland?
Deshaun
Kaiser. Like, he's had guys that can move around a little bit. And then you look at who he brought back with him, Mike Denbrock, who just had
Desmond Ritter,
who's also another dual threat kind of guy. So
Daniels and Ritter are a good comp. I mean, they're a good comparison when you look at their game. Now, obviously, Ritter had a really explosive last season. I think Daniels is capable of that. I don't know. I mean, look, it's the SEC. It's different competition. But, I mean, you watch him throw the football in his first season. You watch his footwork. I mean, you watch kind of the natural things of playing the quarterback position, and then you see his athleticism, and you're like, damn, I mean, you can win with this guy.
100%.
I mean, this is a dude that can come in here and, he can really change the thing up. I mean, he can shake the thing up as far as just a different type of skill set. His film's pretty impressive from 2 years ago.
Absolutely. You can kind of get lost, and the COVID year doesn't really count. They did the same, like LSU played a full season, but when you look at the SEC was the only, I guess, real conference that really trudged ahead.
They only played four?
They only
Arizona
played 4 games.
4 games.
So you throw that one, throw those in the dryer. That doesn't count. And then last year is the one that would kind of, I guess, if you had any pause, it would be his season last year. But look at what he was going through.
2019,
he had no head coaching. He had Herm Edwards running around out there talking about, don't be talking about no Devils now.
The place was a dumpster fire, man. And I'm telling you, look, I'm not saying because of what he didn't have around him is why he struggled. But when you look at what he had 2 years ago at Arizona State, and this was before the trouble, and they were recruiting at a very high level out there. They were getting players. I mean, they were bringing cats in out there. And, I mean, he was whipping it around the yard. Matt Gross, before Miles got his ribs busted up, he was putting up great numbers. He just had bad luck. They did Miles dirty. He needs a year somewhere. He was thinking he was going to come back and play. Matt, I get it. And from that perspective, I understand it. But you have to also look at it from Brian Kelly's perspective.
I'm trying to win.
You can't be sentimental on Miles Brennan and say, hey, man, we appreciate you coming back. We're not going to sign another guy, even though you haven't finished the entire college football season when given an opportunity. That was shitty luck on Brennan to get his ribs busted up like he did in Missouri that day. I mean, they didn't even have a prerequisite for the injury. I mean, doctors, specialists from around the country were looking at this thing saying, I mean, if we did surgery, we would have to name it the Miles Brennan surgery. Mm-hmm. We've never seen it. So, I mean, luck was terrible. But from a head coaching standpoint, you don't got time for bad luck. You know what I mean? You got to coach through bad luck.
Well, and I'm preparing myself in case it happens again.
Sure.
Like, there's no reason that Miles Brennan can't go in and win the job. But when you talk about the rib injury, that was 2 injuries ago. Like, that wasn't even the most recent one. He's also fallen down and broken his arm.
That's right.
He hasn't played competitive football in quite some time.
Andrew Messina, after the quarterback situation that LSU faced with Max quitting and transferring, Brennan hurt and Nuss not playing to save his red shirt. Adding another quarterback was smart for LSU. It benefits Walker Howard as well. It absolutely benefits Walker Howard into the future. for sure. Because if you had to look at Walker Howard 6 games into this season because, Miles Brennan was hurt and Nussmeier, had a banged up ankle and was going to miss a couple of weeks and was going to be out, and you got to look at the 5-star and say, I know you're not ready, but you need to get ready. That could stunt his growth. You don't want to do that to Walker Howard. I mean, really. I don't think LSU wants to do that to Walker Howard. They want to make sure and just lay this thing out, have a plan in place, stick to it. If there's a chance to get him snaps this season where you don't burn the red shirt, get him as much playing time as possible. If that's not in the cards and you just want to get him healthy for the future, I get that too. But one thing that you don't want to do is you just don't want to mess with him, right? Like you don't want to put him out there in some situation and say, hey, man, we got to score here. You know what I mean? Like you got to save it.
Him.
Yeah, you got a Brandon Harris or, the list is long. Jarrett Lee, Brandon Harris, Anthony Jennings. People that just had no business taking snaps for LSU, whether it was, the timing or the player. You don't want that to happen to Walker Howard. All right, LSU.
Can Miles go back in the portal?
He can.
Do you think he will?
I think it's a possibility. I think it's a possibility.
I feel like I would.
I would too. I said it yesterday. I would too. If he did, it would make sense.
Yeah.
Right.
You talked about Jayden Daniels not having athletes around him. In 2019, he had Brandon Ayuk.
Right.
Yeah. So and Brandon Ayuk's numbers from 2018 and 2019 jumped like a lot with Jayden Daniels as his
that's the type of talent he's going to have at OSU. He's going to have guys that are going to go to the league and play well. Like Ayuk's already a pretty much an established player for the 49ers. LSU's got that in spades. Mm-hmm. They have receiver talent. So if that's what he was missing or that's what he was lacking, he came
welcome
to
the
spot.
promised land.
Yes, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like
walking into the candy shop.
Absolutely.
Enjoy yourself. Welcome to GoFlow IV. We're brought to you today. Hey.
Are we here? Are we there?
All right. GoFlow IV and Spa is located on Jefferson Highway. Get in and see him today. 7370 Jefferson Highway is where you can find him. 7970 Jefferson Highway. 7970 Jefferson Highway. Go with the flow.
They're putting in their ways anyway.
Well, the best way to do it is just go online. GEAUXFlowIV.com. GEAUXFlowIV.com. If you're suffering from dehydration, if you're sick, if you're just looking for a hangover cure, if you're looking for a little energy boost to getting through the week, or if you're an athlete looking to help out your performance, get in touch with GoFlow, GEAUXFlowIV.com. You can find them online. Easiest way to book the appointment. Remember, if you mention the Jordy Culotta Show, if you mention it when booking your appointment, they will take 15% off of your initial charge over there. So get in, check out GoFlow, GEAUXFlowIV.com. LSU basketball will take on the winner of Missouri and Ole Miss later this week in the SEC tournament. The basketball team finished up the regular season 21-10 under Will Wade with a net ranking of 16. As we said, they're the 5th overall seed in the SEC tournament. They will get going on March 10th. They will get going on Thursday. We will talk to Coach about preparing for the tournament. Missouri. Okay. Spoken like a true State fan over there. Emotions still running high.
I said they'll be playing Missouri.
Missouri?
Oh, Jesus. What did I
Missouri?
say?
I thought it was Missouri.
Missouri.
What did I say?
Missouri.
Yeah. What do y'all say?
Missouri.
Okay.
Missouri. Yeah. We'll stick with Missouri.
Put it in the poll. How do you say it? Bengals or Bengals?
John Brady, LSU Sports Radio next. Do you have questions about your finances? Are you looking for recommendations from a skilled financial advisor? Get in touch with our friend Daniel Newman over at Edward Jones. You can find him easily by logging online and shooting him an email at daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. That is daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. Whether it is help with your 401k or just fiscal advice heading into the new season, get in touch with Daniel today. Best way to do it? Email him, daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. He's our experienced financial advisor. Let him be yours, daniel.newman@edwardjones.com.
The Jordy Culotta Show is brought to you daily by Morales Roll-Offs. Morales Roll-Offs provides dumpster rentals for residential and commercial needs in Baton Rouge and surrounding areas. Morales has roll-off dumpsters ranging from 10 yards to 40 yards, to accommodate all of your disposal needs. Search online moralesrolloffs.com.
Papa Earl's, the fine spice, originating right down here in South Louisiana by our guy Mark Pop Norman. Developed it back in 2018 and won Amazon's Newcomer of the Year in 2019. They pride themselves in having 30% less salt and sodium than the leading brands at the same price point. You can find them locally. Look for Papa Earl's at Rouse's, Calandro's, Mathern's, High Neighbor, and more.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Oh, this you crazy mother.
Stephen Miller comparing Daniels to Ritter is quite the stretch, though. Seriously, the brakes need to be pumped majorly. I get you, Steve.
Projecting
a little bit, but I think you can find the comparison in the game. I think you can see it.
Both
And with
mobile.
Mike Dimbrot calling plays for both of them, I think that he would look at Desmond Ritter as the comp to somebody like Jayden Daniels coming in and making those play calls for that type of player, especially compared to somebody like Brennan, right? I mean, Brian Kelly has never coached a quarterback with the arm strength of Miles Brennan. I'm trying to think of guys that he has had at Notre Dame, just the pure arm strength, guy that can make every single throw, stand him up straight in the pocket. If he's got a clean pocket, he can make every throw that you need on a football field.
It's Kaiser.
It would have to be Kaiser.
He has a whip.
I remember watching Kaiser throw that game winner in the rain against Clemson that day, where he just he threw the ball out of the TV screen. I thought, this guy's a freak, man. He was the one that went to Cleveland?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cleveland saw the same thing you did.
Yeah.
He got a bunch of starts there. Got
He
a good
did.
bit of run.
He did.
Hugh Jackson was the coach, right?
I think he was a Cleveland native. I think he was from actually the city of
That makes
Cleveland.
sense.
Big basketball recruit, Deshaun Kaiser.
Deshaun Kaiser.
Yeah.
You picked the wrong one.
I don't know. I mean, coach, he probably made a bunch of money in the NFL. I mean, if he got a bunch of starts.
Do you see? You said Hugh Jackson. You know that Hugh Jackson's in hot water over that.
Absolutely.
When he released was
He had to know if that blew up, he was going to be in hot water.
No, not just for the Art Briles thing, for releasing the statement.
The statement. Right.
But from where he released it from, the Hugh Jackson Foundation it's like tax fraud. The way he's running it, he's the only one getting paid out of the Hugh Jackson Foundation, and he's using it to do tax write-offs, because once people saw the letterhead, they started doing some digging into what the Hugh Jackson Foundation was, and it was just him trying it. It was paying him and his wife, and that was it. And he's like, he can't, nobody steps in more shit than Hugh Jackson. All the time.
Man.
All the time.
Dude, watch your heels, bro.
I mean,
Watch your step.
Because he was so
God's
embarrassed to
sakes.
release it from the Grambling account about the Art Briles things. Like, I'll just do it through my foundation.
Well, I'm sure Grambling was probably like, hey, man.
We don't want anything to
this
do
was
with
your
this.
hire.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We told you if this went bad, this was going to be on you. All right, fine. I'll do it for my foundation.
Oh, you have a foundation?
Oh, okay.
What does that do?
You just tucking cash away over there?
That's right. Skim on his taxes.
Cash cow.
A little tax fraud.
Wait, what? Huh?
Do you remember Calvin Ridley was gambling?
All right, so LSU basketball, we're going to hook up with John Brady here shortly. But as we said, they are getting ready for the SEC tournament. Did you see it last night? First game winner in the SoCon Valley as Chattanooga beats Furman on a buzzer beater. Furman actually hit a buzzer beater with about 3 seconds left in regulation, has seen that game to OT, in which Chattanooga closes out with a beautiful buzzer beater. Dribbling to his left into the double team, fires it up from in between the 3-point line and half court and just buries it. Place goes crazy as Chattanooga books their spot for the field of 68.
And just like that, it's officially March.
It is
jeez, there's a
officially
lot
March,
of games today,
man. This is a great week.
right?
Is it not today? Are there a lot of games today?
Aren't they? aren't there?
Well, I mean, this is tournament week,
Yeah.
Looks
right?
you're
So I
looking at him,
mean,
Katie.
Yeah, I am looking at him. That's what I'm saying. I'm like,
She's over there
seeing
looking
this
at him, and she's
wrong?
like, "Are there a
Am I
lot of
back-
games today?"
Well, I said it.
Well, I mean-
am I like back in the wrong year? Yeah,
so
there's a
what?
lot of games today.
What tournament starts
No one
today?
exciting though to me.
Yeah, right. I mean,
right?
I don't think the good ones start until like Wednesday, Thursday.
Tomorrow.
ACC tournament starts today. The MAAC tournament starts today. Atlantic Sun today. Horizon League, that'll be a good game. There's games. ACC is probably the most noteworthy of what we're looking for. Boston College plays Pitt. NC State versus Clemson. But yeah, I mean,
So many games.
this is when you get Big Ball.
Tomorrow's a good game. Big Ball 7-5.
That's when you get him rocking with lefty and righty. That's
Absolutely.
what they're for.
Georgia and Vanderbilt tomorrow.
Will Joseph at the Jordy Culotta show, their new OC, has been fired for allegations of the same things that Browse did, talking about the new rambling.
Grambling, get it to you. What kind of circles is Hugh Jackson
fire
running in,
your
dude? Do you think Hugh makes it to the first game?
I don't. It doesn't sound like it.
It doesn't look like he's
It
going
don't
to.
seem like
Sound
it.
like
It don't seem. But where do they go with a coach for a coach?
I mean, obviously they're trying to go the Deion Sanders, Eddie George route. I don't know. I
Only one
mean,
Deion now.
what's that?
Only one Deion.
Right. Yeah, you can't recreate that.
No, but if you've seen, they're doing that documentary on like the season or whatever,
Uh-huh.
like Barstool's producing it, and to see the transformation from season 1 to season 2 of that program is unbelievable. That's why I say there's only one Deion. They had they had to bus to a high school to practice. The field was awful. Somebody broke their leg at practice because there's like a steep drop off after the end zone. Deion said, "We ain't doing that no more." Got a turf field, has a turf field in the new season, and they have an all grass field so they have 2 practice fields now after they had none in 1 year.
Jeez, must be nice.
I remember watching a video that they put out.
And he got the number 1 recruit in the country.
Right.
The video that he put out of him coaching up the equipment managers and how he had kind of like changed the process of how they function and how he was kind of restoring pride into that department. It's a complete overhaul. Whoever is paying attention to what Deion Sanders is doing at Jackson State, and it might be bigger, and I believe the more you watch Deion here, it's not necessarily all about getting a bigger job. But whoever is recognizing what he's doing, I think is going to hit a home run when they make the decision to bring him into a Power 5 or a big-time job. If it's Florida State, that makes the most sense. Obviously, that's where he went. That's where a lot of his passion and love is. He's from that part of the country. I mean, it would make a lot of sense.
There was legit smoke of trying to get him this year.
I know.
And
I know.
who's their coach? Norvell?
Yeah, Mike
and
Norvell.
He was supposed to be the one that landed Hunter, the number 1 player in the country.
yeah.
Plays both ways. He's like a carbon. I mean, he is Deion Sanders at the high school level or whatever. He plays, returns kicks, but they put him both ways, like more than your average Bear. And Deion just went into the recruiting room and said, "Dude, I know exactly what your life could be like. I lived it. Come here." And it took him right from Norvell's nose that he was committed to Florida State since he was like a freshman.
Yeah.
And then that was Norvell's big coup, and now he doesn't have him, and now they want Deion to come coach at Florida State after 1 year of coaching.
In the day and age of the transfer portal, where he's telling Travis Hunter, like, if I go to Florida State, you're coming with me. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you never miss a day of eligibility.
Did you see what Deion said about the transfer portal? Like how they only take like a certain amount of high school kids at Jackson State. Like he takes way more transfers than he takes high school kids. And he was saying how the transfer portal is like really messing up high school kids because coaches, they want the
Not
kid that's
evaluating.
right. They
Yeah.
want the kids that's seasoned. Like this kid's been in college already. Like he's seen it. He's adjusted. Like I could take him rather than taking an 18-year-old kid who doesn't know shit about college and is just gonna come mess up.
I mean,
And mess my job up.
If anybody's done it the most, it's probably LSU. LSU has dabbled in the transfer market more than probably most Power 5 teams have. So it's not shocking that other people are seeing this, but
You know why?
because they have to rebuild the roster mismanagement of everything.
Because the
that's
roster
happened.
mismanagement of the last decade of LSU football, they've never been able to catch their footing. They've never been able to get into a cycle where you've got guys graduating and you're just replenishing them with recruiting classes. They had such a mass exodus of either early entries to the NFL draft or people that were just completely shutting down and quitting the program that they could never catch up. And that is, to me, the tallest task that this Kelly regime has in the early days. Brian Polian is the recruiting coordinator. Frank Wilson obviously is kind of the the head of the operation of bringing in players and everybody around them, but everybody that goes into that part and functionality of the program. To me, that's the biggest task that you have, is restoring the roster. And I think the early signs, the early days, the first class is a real bright look ahead of what they can do. I mean, the power that they have brought in and been able to change so quickly.
I mean, how many of the
testament?
How many of the 22 starters are going to be transfers for LSU? Because I'm rattling my brain as to who I can remember that's going to come back.
I would say that 3 of the 5 offensive linemen, so the majority of the offensive line, is going to be a starter. Potentially your quarterback could be a starter.
All from the portal, you're saying?
Yeah, just transferred.
The only people that wide receiver is really the only place.
John Emery.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Emery,
Noah Kane could be your starter. Your entire defensive backfield, I'd imagine, would be transfer portal guys, besides Jay Ward.
Jay Ward.
I think that Jay Ward would be the only guy out of the current.
Sage Ryan, maybe.
Sage Ryan, maybe.
Where's Dwight McLaughlin? I know
went to
He's at
Arkansas.
Arkansas.
Okay, he went. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. I just didn't know if he. I know they were rumors. I just didn't know if he committed.
Was that academic stuff, or was that
Yeah.
just?
I think it was more. He didn't vibe with the new coaching staff.
All right, let's see.
Same thing with when that Trey Palmer also that didn't really.
Trey Palmer.
Yeah, kind of trimmed some of the new sheriff in town.
Trim some of the fat. huh?
Well, I mean, I don't even know if it's necessarily. I mean,
you could use Trey Palmer.
you could use Trey Palmer. You
Boogie.
could use Dwight McLaughlin. I think it was just kind of establishing the
God,
new
he played
standards.
so well too when he was
Yeah,
kinda
The
at
new
the end
standards
yeah.
of who you are.
I really
you know?
liked Dwight. I
No
really liked
doubt.
his game. His
Oh,
game was
man.
he was going to be the next like
He was
guy in
improving.
DBU,
He was
like-
getting better. So,
did the old 2-for-1 deal with Arkansas.
but I mean, the majority of the defensive backfield will be transfers. Mingo, the defensive lineman, is going to be a guy who logs a lot of time on, an LSU's defensive line. I mean, Mike Jones is a transfer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Who?
he kind of gets
LSU
lost
starting
in the
linebacker.
shuffle.
That's who. I mean, he'll be the starting linebacker.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he gets lost just because he's, coming out of it a year ago. But yeah, I would say that the majority of LSU's football team this season, out of the 22 starters, would be transfer guys. Now, I mean,
That's interesting.
I wonder what it'll look like in college football in 3 years from now, 2 years from now, on teams where you could have.
I'd imagine there's going to be some rule changes that are coming down the
Got
pipe with
to.
what's going on.
From
But-
who?
Right. That you don't have to listen to him. I wouldn't
mean, like,
imagine.
from
The
who?
NCAA. Who
Who-
cares
yeah,
what they
right.
say? Like,
Who's
nobody
gonna-
gives
who's
a
gonna
shit about
answer-
them.
who's
Yeah.
gonna institute 'em?
They keep knocking and nobody answers the door. You're not invited to this party, dude. Go away.
Right?
Go home.
Well, I think they finally got the
hint?
memo.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they finally got the hint. Like they're really not taking us serious.
Right,
There's
'cause-
really. I mean, we've gotten thrown out of Congress.
Laughed out.
Yeah.
We've got no power. We've got no real authority over anyone in the sport. It feels like I don't.
Except for right now. That's the only thing they do. Is March Madness.
Yeah.
And that's how they make all their money. So they're
true.
probably couldn't be happier, to be honest. They don't have to deal with any of the bullshit of college football because it is too much of a monster to wrangle. You can't control it.
Yeah.
You can't even contain it. You just let them go. Let the coaches go do their thing, whatever. But you put your name on the front of March Madness, you get all that money, and you get to sit in the corner and count it. Like there's nobody wants to make any changes to how college basketball, the tournament itself, is run. People love it. It's the best tournament in
Yeah.
sports.
It is. It is this.
And this is where they make all their money.
This is the best time in sports, right? Is this the best time in? I mean, the next couple of weeks, isn't it tough? I mean, you're gonna walk from March Madness into Augusta.
Right.
You're gonna walk from
If you're Jim Nance.
right. Well, I mean, you're walking at the end
Literally.
of March Madness into spring football. By that time, baseball season is into conference play. And in a regular year, Major League Baseball would be starting up. Not that that really adds to the dimensions of the sporting year down here, but I mean, for true sports lovers, I mean, Major League Baseball season's opening day is usually a pretty big deal.
NBA playoffs.
NBA playoffs starting to round into form, and the weather's getting right. You're starting to kind of get back outside again. I mean, this to me is the best time of the year.
NFL draft.
for
Better
the
than
sports.
start of college football?
Start of college football is tough.
Not for you.
That is tough.
Yeah,
You're not
that
really-
first
That
couple
is
weeks
tough.
is.
I
Yeah.
mean, just the early morning fall.
that
I mean,
first-
just that
First
Saturday
tickle in
morning.
the nuts
dude.
when you walk outside. It's not to be like, oh, it's here. It's like Christmas.
The smell.
Game
smell.
days
It
on.
is. It truly is. It is a scent. It is a feeling. But, bro,
It's its own season.
college basketball tournament time in the spring, coming from a day game at LSU baseball, in the sunshine, eating crawfish, outside, watching good sporting events is tough to mess with. I mean, that's about as good as it gets. But a fall morning of a big game Saturday is the number one draft pick. That is the number one pick. I mean, a Saturday morning of it doesn't even have to be the Alabama game. Like,
no, just SEC.
just a big time SEC game at night where you've got all day to soak it in and get right. Is as good as it gets.
That's a been aired opportunity.
I mean, on a beautiful October Saturday morning where it's sunshine and feeling right. I mean, that's as good as it can get.
Yeah,
it's as good as it can
get.
Is. Remember, roll-off dumpsters for the greater Baton Rouge area comes from Morales Roll-Offs. Our friend Daniel Newman.
That's too far away. Back to college basketball.
But you know what Saturday morning I see that being this coming up year? The Tennessee game. That Saturday morning where you're just like, man, this is a good feeling. This could be a good day.
Well, and it's gonna be competitive.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It'll be a really good game. Yeah, kind of at the fork.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Who's going right? Who's going left? Roll-off dumpsters for the greater Baton Rouge area. Shout out to our financial advisor, Daniel Newman. Daniel Newman's got some construction going on at the house, and he called me yesterday, wanted to know who our dumpster guy was. Absolutely. Gave him Clyde Morales' number over at Morales Roll-Offs. He called him over there, and he got 2 dumpsters on the way out to his construction site. Said it was very easy. Get in touch with the Morales Roll-Offs today. You can call him. You see the phone number there on the screen, 225-427-0000. Easiest way is just to log online, moralesrolloffs.com, where you can schedule there and get an instant quote. But look, competitive pricing. Clyde is a former contractor. He really understands the operations in the business. He can help you out today. Remember, if you are a contractor and you're on construction sites and you got more than one going, you got more than just one site moving right now, and you've got your roll-off guy, you've got your dumpster guy, right? But you got multiple operations, you got multiple projects going on. Give Clyde and Morales Roll-Offs a try. Check out their pricing. Very competitive, very fair. Their pricing will beat anybody in the area. And they are located on Airline Highway, right across from Industrial Plex. Check them out. MoralesRollOffs.com.
Force R&B into using them too. Yeah. I'm going to make Rat use them for my job.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. Yeah, strong arm, kid.
You're
Just do what you do. Do what you do. Be who you are.
Choice, right?
I'm not arguing. Who's arguing? Yeah, you're right. Go get him. For God's sakes. I'm out of this. Relax.
That's when we get in trouble.
All right, we're going to talk to Brodie Miller coming up here.
What'd you just say to me?
What the hell did you just tell me to do?
Stewie said it.
On International Women's Day of all days,
Of all
Stuart.
days.
Who are we saluting today? Besides all the women in our life, we're saluting every woman in our life. All
My
the women.
mother for bringing me to work today.
Yes.
Yeah,
good
it
for
has
you.
to. Every day is International Mother's Day.
Yeah, that's what I say. Salute to my mom.
There we
Salute to
go.
the moms. Salute to the moms out
You
there.
wouldn't be here without him.
Are they finagling another Mother's Day? Is that what's happening?
It does kind of seem like that a little bit.
Yeah, but you're not eating that awkward brunch with the family.
Right.
Yeah, true.
You know what I mean? You could just send a
Right.
text
I don't
message
think
and get away
anybody's
with
going
it.
to celebrate me today
True.
on International Women's Day.
You should get a text message, though, huh?
From who?
Sophie?
On International Women's Day? I mean, she's a woman.
Well, that's
Shouldn't I
true.
send one to her too?
That's true.
Yeah, that should,
To each other. Y'all should text
I
each
don't
other.
know.
The,
David, if you're listening, tonight better be stellar.
Oh, wow. Pressure's on.
Right?
Congratulations, David. It sounds like.
Get the Papa's cherry.
Sounds like she's going to be on top. It's International Women's Day. It's my turn.
No, it's not 8 o'clock yet. It's 7:51. Everybody calm down.
That's right. People still carpooling out
People
there,
are
for
still
God's
carpooling.
sake.
They're very angry right now.
All right, we're going to talk to Brodie Miller coming up here in 9 minutes, as Brody will be talking about the latest on LSU football. We'll ask him some of the things going on, what he thinks about the quarterback race going into spring football. LSU baseball back on the diamond tonight. They will be playing UNO.
Mother's Day. It's Women's Day. I combined them.
Happy International
Mother's
Women's
Day. Yeah, there we go.
We will talk to Brodie Miller. We're going to track down John Brady at some point and talk a little bit more LSU basketball. But LSU baseball back out on the diamond tonight. They play McNeese at home as they will
How
face
are they?
the Cowboys. McNeese, pretty good record.
Really?
Coming in as McNeese on the season is 8-4. LSU 9-3. First pitch scheduled for 6:30 this afternoon. I don't know if they've said it officially, but is Mikael Hilliard going to get the start here?
I think he is getting the start.
Yeah.
I
I mean, with his time that he missed over the weekend, I know there were some questions about where he was. Obviously, LSU dropped 2 or 3 games over the weekend at the Shriners Classic. They beat Oklahoma in 11 innings on Friday, 5-4 in pretty dramatic fashion as Jordan Thompson had a walk-off home run over there at Minute Maid.
Well, if he doesn't do that,
wow.
Yeah, talk about tiger droppings. Good Lord.
That's what I was thinking, man. I
weekend.
mean, if you don't get the walk-off, what's the mood?
It's already pretty sour. So I would imagine Jay Johnson would have got his first real dose of acid from LSU, the LSU faithful.
The LSU baseball crowd is very unforgiving.
Unforgiving.
Right? I mean, like they're a very it's a different it's almost like a subset of the fan base of like the whole, right? Like there's an entire
It's the
LSU
most
fan
toxic
base.
group that exists for
There is
LSU.
there is an entire LSU fan base out there that exists, and those are the ones that you see on a packed Saturday night in Tiger Stadium where you got 103,000 in there and everybody's jammed in with their purple and gold cheering on LSU, right? I mean, everybody kind of buys into the LSU fandom from this part of the country, but then there's like a subset of fans that are just strictly LSU baseball fans. Like they don't put off any football vibes. They definitely aren't watching any basketball. They're definitely not, like paying attention to the softball team. It's a different crowd that just pays attention to the baseball program. And it feels like they've been around since like 84, right? Like, right. I mean, it feels like, they came in with Skip and they're almost like Skip has kind of aged up, but like they've never aged.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like they still sit in their same seats. They still chant the same things.
Yes.
They still put the K's up when they strike out.
The K lady. My Pilates
They still do the whistle.
About her yesterday.
The Birdman. The Birdman's still at the
You
box.
got leather lungs out there?
You still got the guy leading the hey, but you still got ball 4. I mean, every ball 3, you can look forward to the guy and like up in the ball 4. I feel like I've been hearing that since I've been like just like 88. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I've been hearing it since a kid. I mean, the Birdman whistling. You know what I mean? Like all of that stuff.
I wonder what he thinks about the Vandy whistling.
Oh, they hate each
Oh,
other,
they
right?
got to.
They
got a
whistle
little
off.
beef.
Dueling whistles,
It
yeah.
has
I
to
mean,
be
it's
a
kind of like a
whistle-off.
little AOL compared to, you know what I mean? Compared to Internet Explorer. I mean, it's just things have
Google?
improved over the last 20 years, man.
Dell and Microsoft.
You know what I mean?
Steve Jobs versus Bill Gates. But it feels like you're right. Everybody has like a role to play for LSU baseball. It's so weird. Like the
It
fans
is.
feel very ingrained.
is.
It's like, no, don't sit there. He sits there.
Right.
When they don't have
And
a
then
real
remember,
connection
like,
is the weird
well,
part.
I mean, like, they did go through this weird spell where LSU was not having the success that they usually would have in the postseason.
Poor smoke.
No, I mean, I'm talking to that. I'm talking about even like Maneri, like a couple of times they got bounced out of some regionals and they like would give high five to the other team. You know, we're hospitable. Like, get the hell out of here.
The fans?
Who do you think you are? This is South Louisiana, man. I mean, like, not that you have to run fans out of here, but we're not setting
not
up
Mr.
high five
Sportsmanship.
lines
Yeah,
and showing
no chance.
sportsmanship, right? Well, we're baseball fans. All right.
Well,
Get
it's
the hell out of here with that take, all right? I mean, that stuff was just, it was so in your face for so long of, you know what I mean? He's not a baseball fan. No, I'm not. You prick. I'm not.
But I'll be there
At all.
Fred,
You know what I
in
mean?
charge.
But you're damn right I'll be sitting in that suite on Saturday when the weather's right and Goldsman's pitching. You know what I mean? Like, I mean,
I'd love to go to a
you can
super
have
regional.
it. You can have it. But I mean, just, it's a different crowd. You know what I mean? And I'm not bashing.
No.
For God's sakes. But it's just,
They take it very
it's
seriously.
a unique crew. Yeah, absolutely. They take it
Well,
very
it's a
seriously.
commitment because it's so long and
And
the
it's-
games are so long and the season's so long. I mean, I don't get super into it until later in the season.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I love it. I love LSU
Yeah.
baseball, but I'm not like a diehard right now.
Right.
You know, I've give them time to marinate and
Yes.
you know, kind of get their feet underneath them. It's a long baseball season. There's a
It
reason they
is.
play 56 of these things or whatever.
Jeez.
Like, let them go. It's
Well, I mean,
okay.
the commitment. Like, that's the
to
thing.
get that worked
As
up
those
every game.
fans?
Just
Yes.
every single Tuesday or Wednesday, we got to be here again.
But
I
yeah,
mean-
tonight I didn't even know. Like, I forgot there was a midweek game.
Yeah,
And I know somebody
Hey,
threw on that
it slipped
LSU
me.
hat, the LSU
raining.
shoes.
They
and
are
they're
ready.
And it's
Ready.
gonna rain tonight.
What if I was like one of those closet fans and y'all had no idea?
Cool, Katie.
When you
Enjoy
dress up in your
yourself.
motto gear, you're gonna look like one of them. I mean,
That's not even closet fan. You're a big time fan.
Yeah, that
whenever
is.
that happens.
That's true. That is true.
golly, pants tucked in, hat, eye black, sweatbands.
I mean, I don't know. Have y'all
Glove bat.
started making the uniform yet? Because if you
Yeah, we're
don't,
just
it's
gonna
not
peel
really
that
up to
jersey
me.
out of here.
Things that fit like a dress.
We
Break
need to,
glass
we
in
need to
case of
plan for this
emergency.
if we're going to
We do need-
Starkville. Like, we have to plan for this.
Do we?
I thought Katie was
yes.
getting us a suite.
If we're really going,
Starkville.
Are we gonna be able to get a suite in the
are
dude?
we really going to go? I'm not going to
April
make that
8th
effort if
with a
y'all aren't
suite.
really into
April
it.
8th.
April 8th.
April 8th.
That's soon, y'all.
Is that the
Soon as
Masters?
hell.
That sounds right. Sounds something around then. That's why I'm not going to the Masters. I can do both.
Bucket list.
You're
Yeah,
not?
oh my God. One
Wait,
day I'll play in it.
Oh.
Top bucket
Oh,
list.
yeah.
Not really.
Get out of here.
Top bucket
You
list?
should
Yeah, it's
go.
probably.
Top bucket list in sports. What you got? You've never been to.
Super
I got
Bowl.
I got 2 minutes, so we will have to
Super
revisit
Bowl.
this. Super Bowl. You've never been to a Super Bowl.
Never been to a Super
I
Bowl.
wouldn't. I don't really want to go to a Super Bowl. I wouldn't want
You
to.
don't?
I mean, the bucket list one has been checked. I would imagine for a lot of LSU fans as
A natty in New
the
Orleans.
natty in New Orleans. As I know it seems
I
easy,
wasn't
but
there.
when when
Wasn't
you're
in
there,
there.
For
yes.
any of them?
I wasn't in the like stadium, but I was in New Orleans. Yes, I was there for the SEC championship. So I
I
kind of
slept
knew we
through
were gonna
part
win the
of it.
Natty after that. Like I was like,
See, that's
it's no way nobody. It's no
Yeah.
way anybody beats us after Georgia. Like,
That's what made me buy the ticket after the SEC championship games. Like this team, they're gonna win, so I would like to be there. So
To the natty.
to the natty.
That is
would-
Masters weekend.
Yes,
It
excellent.
is.
Oh, it is?
Golly.
Whether it's gonna be perfect.
It is.
Yeah.
But that's bucket list for me, probably what's left. It was for a long time Duke, North,
North
Carolina,
Carolina.
going to Cameron Indoor, but
Yeah.
that's
Not
lost its
anymore.
luster. for
Ship
me
has
just
sailed.
a little bit, yeah.
We hadn't talked about that. Kay's outing was pretty funny.
They couldn't get the timing right.
This
Overtime was the
final
worst thing that
game
could
was.
have
I
happened.
mean, that final game was just
Such a dick.
everything about the production of the day. The game before them going into overtime, so you can't have the pregame festivities.
They tried to do the dual box, and people are like, "Why am I watching
Yeah,
a coach
I mean,
walking? Like, if you didn't know what
yeah,
was
right.
happening, like, what are they doing?"
Get the game
Come
back,
on.
for God's sakes.
It was like a funeral.
Then he goes in there, gets run off the floor by a really kind of like bad North Carolina team, like a not good
Team's supposed to be
North
awesome. They were
Carolina
12-point
team.
favorites.
They got 100 former players in the crowd. The day's all about him. They get the court painted. They got a logo made for the day. They bring him back out after the game, and the first thing he does in his send off is apologize to everybody.
Shush the crowd.
Yeah, he's like, "No, I'm serious. Everybody, shut up. I'm sorry about that. That was embarrassing. Like, that could not have gone any worse for Kay. I mean, that day could not have gone for Kay and ESPN.
Yes.
You know that director's sitting there like thinking, "Damn, I pitched my whole year on this. Like, we're gonna make it K Day." We're gonna shut down the pregame. We're gonna make a pregame. We're gonna do it big. We're gonna throw a parade.
They had 8 hours of programming scheduled around it. It was all. I think I'm saying it was like a walking funeral for
It
the
was
man. Like, not
unreal. It was unreal.
they did make it seem like he was dead. Like
Yeah,
he was,
Yes,
or
they
he's
were
about to
killing him.
die.
They killed him.
I thought they were gonna walk him out in his coffin. I really did. I thought that they, like when they brought him back out, I thought he was gonna be sitting in his coffin, like sitting up in his coffin, just kind of like waving. I'm not
Bring
dead
out
yet.
the Duke coffin.
Just it was. I mean, it could not have gone worse for Kay,
I mean-
the crew, ESPN, the entire day. You get run off the floor. I mean, he's probably like, I just want to go home.
This
This
stinks.
sucks. This sucks.
Wait, while we're on basketball, I watched the episode of Winning. Is that the name of it?
Winning
Have
time.
y'all watched it yet?
I've not watched
Y'all,
it yet.
it's
That's
great.
tonight.
Yeah, it is.
Little
It
LSU
is
basketball.
great.
Is it good?
Oh yeah,
It is super good.
it is
Like,
great. Everybody needs to watch it.
John C. Riley is in it. Is it funny?
Yes, he's great in it.
Yes.
Yeah, it's funny. I
Yeah.
mean, he makes it funny. People make it funny. And I'm sure y'all still haven't watched the Kenny Sailor story, so we can't talk about that.
Jump shot.
No, I don't think I'm.
Yes,
Yeah.
you need to watch that.
It was the nut shot.
Why are y'all
If
being weird about it?
because
Malky did like a whole quote around it. Like it's a fabulous.
Jason Clark plays Jerry West, and Jerry West is a maniac. Like,
Yeah.
like he hates Magic. Like he doesn't even want Magic Johnson. Like
Yeah.
he wanted Sidney Moncrief.
It's very interesting. I mean, obviously, I don't know the history behind that, so this is like super informative to me. But
Well, that's what I'm saying. How much of this is true, and how much is like good
I
for,
thought it
made
was
for
true,
television?
right?
I don't know if it's true or what it is, but like Jerry Buss wanted Magic, and he
has
had
to be
just bought
true.
the Lakers.
Genie Bus wanted Magic.
Yes, you definitely did. But like
Yeah, I figured
Jerry
it
Buss
was all
wanted
true.
Magic, and Jerry West was the coach. and like he was just like, I don't want Magic, but he was like keeping it under wraps to keep it away from Jerry Buss. But he put it out in the media,
Of course.
that the Lakers wanted Sidney Moncrief over Magic, and Magic was in LA visiting the Lakers. So like Magic was like, I don't think NBA is for me. Like I'm gonna go back to college.
Do you think he really had that one-on-one with Kareem
When
he was visiting?
Probably. I don't know.
That was weird.
They
That
had
was
him like
awkward.
walking around the forum. Like
Yeah.
just like Jerry and him were walking around the forum, and Jerry was like, I think we got lost. So like he kind of like walked him to the locker room, and they already had the Magic locker set up.
They like left him there.
Yeah, they like left him in the locker room, like made it up like a
did-
movie
buddy.
scene.
Yeah.
But
And then he
it was
ends up
cool.
playing. And
They
it
did the
was
same
cool.
thing to Blake Griffin whenever he was a Clipper, but then it turns out that they traded him like 2 weeks later. They said, we want you to be a Clipper for life. Fake hung his jersey in the rafters. Yeah, they did all of this for Blake Griffin. And then
Whoa.
they're like, actually, we got a pretty sweet deal for you, so we're shipping you out of town. He was like, are y'all kidding me? I just...
This is young,
Kinda,
right?
like-
I'm getting punked.
Yeah. He's
Ashton?
like,
Sad.
they sent him to Detroit.
Ew. I don't like that.
All right, welcome back here to we're brought to you by City Cafe. Remember citycafebr.net. Stop in today and check out the lunch specials over there at City Cafe br.net and their brunch Sundays at 10 a.m. Squeaky Miranda and the entire crew over there. LSU football is heading into spring. Spring will start later this month. They made news earlier this week or yesterday by accepting the commitment of Jayden Daniels from Arizona State. Daniels was a quarterback who put his name into the transfer portal. He's a 3-year starter for the Sun Devils out of Tempe and now is coming to Baton Rouge. He'll be eligible for spring. He'll be here in the offseason. He'll be here for spring practice, and he'll be in the quarterback competition. Here to help us break it down is Brodie Miller, who covers LSU for The Athletic. Remember, you can find Brody on Twitter. You can follow his work over at The Athletic. And if you've not gotten a subscription over at The Athletic, make sure and do it here in the offseason so you can keep up with everything around LSU because Brody's doing great work in keeping up with all of the storylines in and around Coach Kelly's regime here in the early days. Brody, good morning. How are you, man?
I'm doing all right. How are you guys?
Doing good, buddy. Let's start with the Jayden news. Jayden Daniels news off the top. Obviously, LSU accepts the commitment yesterday out of the transfer portal. What do you make of the player, and what does it do to LSU's quarterback competition going into spring?
Yeah, I honestly think of it kind of as like I think it's a smart addition in the sense that you are kind of buying low on a guy who also has a chance to be a superstar. And I think, because I feel like there's kind of two ends of the debate of this. There's some people thinking LSU's getting this like superstar quarterback that's just like, and again, I think those people, you need to remind them that, hey, last year wasn't exactly great. There were some confidence issues and passing issues, but and off the field issues too. So LSU is kind of buying in on a guy who. His stock isn't what it was 2 years ago. That's just the reality. But at the same time, he was in a situation where, hey, off the field issues were kind of, extreme. He didn't have any receivers to throw to. He didn't have time in the pocket. It was just a messy situation. And LSU people have pointed out he also didn't really have a dedicated quarterback coach the last 2 years. His best year, 2019, was really the only time he had someone working with him full time. So I say that to say, yeah, there's a lot of reasons to talk yourself into. Jayden Daniels could be a star at LSU. I just think it also needs to be tempered, and that I think it really is a quarterback competition. And, if you remove emotion from it, I think, Brian Kelly probably viewed this as a situation where, yeah, they have a pretty stable quarterback room, but Miles Brennan's only been healthy for really, very, very little time in the last 4 seasons. So I think it was, hey, this is a guy that's hard to say no to, and they have a previous connection with Jamar Cain. And, let's make the route better. Let's add competition. Let's get a culture of competition going. And, I would put my money on Jayden Daniels winning that job. But at the same time, I wouldn't be shocked at all. I think it's a real competition, and Miles Brennan will compete. So if Miles Brennan wins the job, well, shoot, that's even better. He proved he's the right guy, and there's really no harm in taking Daniels. If Daniels wins the job, it's proof that there was room for improvement, right? So it's kind of a no-lose situation in that sense of how I view it.
Is there a situation where you see Brennan re-entering the portal?
Totally. I don't think you can rule that out by any means, And LSU people have said that they've been unbelievably transparent, they claim, with everyone in that quarterback room and explaining it to them. And I think they've also said that, Miles Brennan, maybe he didn't have the opportunities he wanted out of the portal last time, and that's part of why he came back too. So I think it is a situation where I think they'll compete, but I wouldn't be shocked at all if Miles Brennan ends up in the portal when this is all said and done. I think it would be naive to think otherwise, but I do think he's going to try to fight it out, and I do think it's a real chance, but it's just a tricky situation.
We spoke to Michael Daugherty, the 4-star safety, yesterday from Logan'sville, Georgia, and got his impressions of the weekend. Junior Day, LSU hosted it over the weekend, and seemed like they had a lot of local prospects and some national prospects on campus. A lot of positive feedback, it seems like, from the weekend. Have you heard anything from LSU's coaching staff now in its entirety starting to recruit towards the future like they did last weekend in Baton Rouge?
Yeah, I think there's been a strong sense out of the program and some of the recruits as well, that I think there's been this talk of and it's been this buzzword I've been hearing for months, and hey man, it might be propaganda, but there's just this sense that even recruits are talking about, hey, Brian Kelly really has a plan. Everyone keeps talking about Kelly has a plan. It's probably the phrase I hear the most. And I think, I've seen recruits from 24/7 on 3 other places talk to them and say, yeah, like it just feels like a different building in there. And that's honestly, that's a big sign, just because some of these kids have been there before, and as well as I, so much of the mission of year one is reframing the culture, the feel of that building, all those things. That's a good sign, in my opinion, that they're getting in that situation. I think they are in a good position with your Dante Moores of the world. I think they are in a good position with a lot of those in-state kids, So I'm not going to pretend to be the recruiting expert here, but I do think this weekend was a win, and I do think they're, pretty well positioned for a good 2023.
What is the major storyline for you going into spring? I guess when you take the quarterback storyline out of it now, we've talked a little bit about it with Daniels. When you go into the next couple of weeks of LSU getting prepared for spring football, what are you most eager to watch once practice opens up?
I think the boring answer, but the obvious one is just how transfers, fit in. Because I've said this on your show before, I think it's just so easy for people to assume a guy is coming from one place where he produced, and it's not a video game, right? It's not where you're taking a guy who's an 84 overall and he's still an 84 overall. Like, it's kind of contextual. So I think there's going to be a little bit of figuring out exactly, hey, they added 3 corners that theoretically fit into those 3 starting spots, but are all 3 of those guys really SEC starters? I don't think you'd be kind of naive to assume that, and same with Miles Frazier and Shimon Shorts on the O-line. I think those guys are really good talents, but at the same time, they're coming up from much lower levels. You just don't know. So I think that's not a negative or a positive. It's just me saying that's kind of what I'm watching, to see which ones of those guys are really ready to slot right into spots. Who are like stars on SEC right away, on LSU right away? Because that's possible. Some of them might be the best players right away. Where does a Mekhi Wingo? Is he a rotation guy, or is he an obvious starter? I think those are the things that I'm watching for sure.
How about the faces that are returning that have been in the program? Some of the guys, because I'm with you. I think that everybody, when you show up, you look at the new faces and how they fit in. You look at the coaches and their style on the field, and what their techniques are in coaching their group. But how about a guy like, I'm not going to give you any names because I'd like to hear where you go, but just anybody who's been in the program, who is gone through this coaching transition and now going into their first spring with Brian Kelly.
Yeah, I think there's a bunch, right? I think, one that I've heard really positive things from the staff about so far has been Mike Jones, which is one, he's not necessarily like a young guy, but he's somebody who everyone had all these hopes for last year. And by the way, this falls in the exact same category before of you can't assume transfers are just plug and play. He had growing pains and whatnot, but once they went to Durante Jones' actual defense those last few weeks, where Jones was running what he wanted to run, and Mike Jones got a chance to really play, he looks pretty good. And the feedback so far through winter workouts and just getting to know these guys is they're really high on him. So I think he's one I'm just interested by. And I say it to also say I'm just so intrigued by that entire linebacker room. Not because, just because I'm always the most, I'm very boring with this, as you know, but I'm always most fascinated by rooms where there's a lot of like solid guys, but I have no idea what the pecking order is. And that's definitely one of those rooms for me where it's like, Baskerville's back, he's really stable, but his upside's not as high. Perkins is this 5-star, but he's a true freshman. Jones, I just don't know where to expect him. Is he a starter? I don't know. Does Greg Penn, the guy with massive upside, take a leap? I think I'm so intrigued by that linebacker room. Shoot, Josh White hasn't been healthy, but I still think really highly of Josh White. So, and then you added the 2 transfers. So yeah. And then I think some others I'm definitely watching are the offensive linemen, really, because I go back to, and it's an old storyline, but Brad Davis hasn't had a full off season with these guys, and you saw the O-line get better as the year went on, and I give credit to Brad Davis for that. So now some of those sophomores, juniors, they get a real off season with him. Marlon Martinez comes to mind first. Garrett Dellinger is a huge one. Anthony Bradford to an extent. Some of these guys that I really think are solid players, but can they become real starters? I think those are the guys that I'm really intrigued by. Like Martinez or Dellinger, I can actually see them being the starting center. They're trading there now, and I think it makes sense. So I think those are some of the first ones that come to mind for me.
Joe Sloan's name continues to pop, whether it's on the recruiting trail or a guy who's making an impact on a junior day or somebody who seems to have had a pretty big role in Jayden Daniels' recruitment. What are you hearing about LSU's quarterbacks coach?
Yeah, I've heard really good things. And honestly, when he first came in, I think there were some people who were just like, this is sneaky, one of the better hires they made, And I think a lot of people didn't think that much of a La Tech coach coming to be the quarterbacks coach, but kind of overqualified for this job in some ways. And I have heard that. I've heard he's a really good recruiter. I've heard that he's a coordinator too, which adds a different element of kind of how to be a quarterback coach. And he talked at length with me about that, about how if he knows what the OC's job is now, and now as a quarterback coach, he can coach the quarterbacks in a way that's helping Mike Denbrock out more. But yeah, I've heard really good things, and I think I've said since the day they hired him with you, like I think he's a guy who might actually have as high of upside. Him and Jamar King come to mind on the staff. So yeah, I think really highly of this one.
Hashtag Ask Brody from John Quav. Brody, what's LSU going to do at tight end?
That is still 100% up in the air, and I'm a broken record, but the thing I keep, going to is everything I've gathered is they just haven't liked anybody in the portal yet. Yes, they absolutely want to bring someone in from the portal. That is arguably number one on the list, but so far they haven't really liked any options, whether it's off the field red flags, whether it's just they don't think they're, quite LSU level, and they just don't want to take guys just to take guys. It's kind of been their mission here, because that's how you get in the problems LSU was in. So I think so far they're being patient with it, but if I had to put a guess, I think whether it's during the spring, whether it's after the spring, whether it's the summer, I would assume a tight end comes available if they end up liking and comes on the roster, but we'll see.
What percent would you put on this quarterback room looking the exact same it looks now as it would in the fall?
Wait, could you repeat that? I'm so sorry.
What percentage chance would you put on this quarterback room looking the exact same as it does now as it will in the fall?
Ooh, yeah. I mean, shoot, just I don't even have inside info on this, but just, history. I don't know, 30%. It's just because history says someone's probably going to leave when you have four quarterbacks in a room. And the thing I always say when people, I think there's a lot of people who get up and get worried about that. Like, what? Bringing Daniels in, someone's going to leave. And it's like, I think people are so used to the old days where it's like, you space out your quarterbacks and you have three, and then one guy's up in 2 years, and the next guy's up in 2 years. And it's just, that just isn't the world anymore. You have four quarterbacks in your room, not to perfectly space out the future, but to figure out who the best talent is. And then, that's built in. Some guys will probably leave from that. That's just part of the math now. So I don't even necessarily view that as a negative, because I view it as, if Jayden Daniels comes in and is clearly the best guy, that is proof that he's a better guy. And if Jayden Daniels isn't and that he leaves, it's like, well, there's no real harm done there. So, I know it's not your question, but I think it's reasonable to assume someone might leave, but I also don't think it's a guarantee.
This is an awkward and a weird question. I don't mean to put you in a spot, but the news coming out on Frank Wilson, the latest, out of the Sharon Lewis situation in the lawsuit that Lewis has upheld. Do you expect anything to come from this? What do you make of this latest allegation?
Yeah, obviously, I appreciate the question. It's just tough to answer, quite frankly. So far, the word from LSU has been that, they are unaware of any, there was no reports, things like that, and that they are standing by Wilson at the time being. And historically, LSU does have a track record of, quite frankly, standing by until evidence is mounted. That's kind of been their game plan, I feel like, the last few years, whether it's recruiting issues, whether it's issues like this. So I think that's kind of where I default to, but that's me speculating. I'll be the first to say that, but so far they seem to be standing by him.
How was Mardi Gras?
What a change of question.
Yes. Let's get the hell out of here, for God's sakes.
And then a perfect Mardi Gras, and then I woke up Wednesday morning with just an absolute killer sinus infection. I'm on day 7 of having it. It's not fun.
Well, get healthy, man. We'll see you around Baton Rouge during the spring. Looking forward to seeing you out there on the practice field and watching Brian Kelly implement his new strategy on LSU football. Thank you.
Absolutely. Can't wait. Take care,
Okay,
guys.
see you. There's Brodie Miller checking in this morning from New Orleans as he gives us the latest on LSU football. Remember, daily, our conversations are brought to you by Falaya Real Estate, our friend Barrett Blondo over at Falaya Real Estate. You see what he's got going on over here, where he is the finalist in this pitch award for local business.
Really?
Where the winner gets $100,000,
No
and he's making his
way.
final pitch. It's down to him and another business that's making their final pitch Thursday at 5 o'clock. You can be live. He's asked us
No.
to go live.
Where?
I believe it's at his studio. You look it up on Instagram. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put
cool.
you on the spot here on dishing out some of the information here. It's a very exciting time
That
for
is
Barrett Blondo.
exciting.
He's built up this podcast studio. He is now a finalist for a local business in a business pitch that could get him $100,000. That he's a finalist of.
Business Center, is that how you say it?
Yeah, the
Bon
Boncaré,
Okay. I'm not
Business
from
Center.
here.
But
Boncaré.
Falaya Real Estate every
That's
single day. Yeah, it
cool.
is cool, man. They got a lot of cool stuff going on over there. Get their app. Follow them online, Falaya.com. Let's call Coach Brady and talk a little LSU basketball here as we were calling him a little earlier. I think something's going on with my phone.
Hello.
All right, man. That's my fault. How are you? Good morning.
You're live.
All right, hold tight. All right, SEC. There it is. The high pitch
High
stakes.
Yeah,
For
that's
Barrett
cool.
Blondo and Falaya Real Estate. Make sure and check them out online. Falaya.com. Download the app. LSU basketball is taking off to the SEC tournament this weekend. They will play Thursday as they await the winner of Missouri and Ole Miss. If they win that game, they will play Arkansas on Friday. John Brady of the LSU Sports Radio Network was on the call Saturday for the Tigers getting their 21st win of the regular season to finish up 21-10. The Tigers 9-9 in conference play as they go in as the 5th seed. We talked to John Brady here, the SEC legend, and a part of the LSU Sports Radio Network here on this Tuesday morning. Coach, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Doing good, man. Coach, first off, from your seat, a former head coach in this league, how tough is it to win 20 games?
Well, it's always kind of been the benchmark of a successful season, the 20-win plateau. And, you know, Will's almost covered that, if my memory serves right, almost every year he's been here. I can't remember the first year if they got
3 of 5.
They got close.
3 of 5.
What now?
3 of 5 years.
Yeah, 3 of the 5 years.
Yes,
so
sir.
that just shows you the job he's done and the consistency of it, and I think that's the key, you know. And eventually you keep reaching that plateau and keep knocking on the door, then something special is going to happen. And who knows? It may be with this team. This team's capable, but you know, it's tough. SEC tournament to win 4 in a row, it may be tougher than winning a national championship because you have no break in between games. You know, when you go to the Final Four, you got a couple of games and you got some days off to prepare for the next opponent. In the SEC, you got 4 in a row, and you've got to play the next day. So the preparation is short, the recovery is short, and it's a difficult thing to do. I think maybe more so than going to the Final Four.
How do you scout this opening opponent when you're waiting on a winner? How do you kind of divvy up the scouting responsibilities from your seat? I mean, you don't want to overload, right?
Well, you're talking about – I don't think you let the team know anything except the next game you're going to play. Now, there may be a couple other coaches looking at some tape. Or
No, I'm talking about like Ole Miss, Missouri. You don't know who your opponent is yet. And so you're kind of waiting to see how are you using these days of preparation when you don't yet know who your opponent is.
Well, they've played them both, you know,
Yeah.
and I think they have some things that they've seen and they've watched them on TV. You know, so much exposure now. There's not a lot of secrets out there, but you know, I think they have an inclination of who they would like to play. But still, I don't think it really matters either one of those teams. And I think what they have, they're going to look at that and they'll watch the game live and then have some walkthroughs, you know, in the hotel. In one of those big rooms there. So they'll tape a floor down and walk through some things with the next opponent after they see them play, I guess, tomorrow or Wednesday.
What did you make of Saturday's performance in the overtime win for LSU? That was a huge victory for LSU. They needed to get that one just for at least, it seemed like the morale of going into this part of the schedule. What did you make of their performance and getting the win?
I thought it was excellent. I thought it was a great game to watch. It was a wonderful game to win. I think everybody had a part in the victory. I was really impressed with Darius Days. The last couple of games has been consistent in his play, particularly Saturday throughout the 40 minutes. You know, there have been times when he's done really well for 15 or 20 minutes and he kind of disappears from time to time, but I thought he was exceptional Saturday in the win against Alabama. And this team's got to be feeling good about itself. And I think since the second half of the Missouri game, Jordy, and how they've carried that over into what they did Saturday, they're almost or close to playing like they were playing when we started off 14 or 15-1. So that's good to see. And I think that momentum and that camaraderie and that feel good about what you just accomplished is going to carry over into the SEC tournament.
The defense looked like what's kind of stabilized them, right?
Yeah, I think defensively they're really good. They didn't foul as much the other day. I think we got some good whistles. And I just think that the way we defend and with the pressure we put on throughout the game, not necessarily to steal the ball, but to certainly take time off the clock where the team has less time in the half court to operate. If we don't foul, and I've said this a million times, carelessly or needlessly, and make them just shoot balls over us and then limit them to one shot, we've got a chance to beat anybody in the league, and we've proven that throughout the year. And I just hope we cut down on fouling, whatever the reason is. And I thought the other night, if Alabama got to the free throw line 15 or less times, we'd win the game. I don't know if they shot 17 or 18 or whatever it was at the end of the game. But you play good defense without fouling, as LSU can do. Yeah. They'll have a chance to beat anybody they play.
16 steals for LSU on Saturday was the number that jumped out with their defense really creating the offense, right? I mean, that's when they're at their best.
Well, they're leading the SEC in steals. They're top 3 in the country in steals. And if that trend continues, certainly it gives them a better chance to win any game. And it's been that way all year long. And I think consistent defense, out-fouling, the length of the team, the hands of the team, when people drive the ball to the goal against us, we're very good at deflecting the ball away without fouling. And then certainly in the full court, we can create turnovers from time to time as well. So anytime you can steal the ball 15, 16, 7 times a game, get more shots at goal, quality shots at goal, you've got a great opportunity to win.
Coach Brandon Murray for LSU, his offense has evolved through this season. Watching him play his final regular season game, he made some tough shots in the paint on Saturday. What can he do? Can he be that scorer in this part of the year that they miss with a guy like Adam Miller being out this year?
Yeah, I think the fourth scorer, he can provide that. You got Eason and Days, obviously, then probably Pinson, and I think he is the fourth scorer who can really keep a team honest. And I was glad to see him play well Saturday, and really he went through a lull there, I think, for 3 or 4 games where he didn't play as well as we anticipated he was going to play because he was coming on there for a while. Then he hit 3 or 4 games where he didn't play as well. But the last couple of times out, particularly on Saturday, I think he's got his confidence back up, and I look for him maybe to be an X factor for us in the SEC tournament.
You like the options he has in his rotation. It looks like he's got something with Sharif and Efton, kind of the way that he's kind of mix-mashing those guys with their minutes.
Well, I think Sharif has earned some minutes by the way he's played. I think he's improved a great deal. I think his confidence is better. It looks to me like that on the floor when he comes in the game. He's long, he's athletic. And I think the amount of minutes that he's playing right now, he's deserved. He's taken some minutes away from Fudge, obviously, by the way he's improved. And he gives us more depth. And he's juggling Reed and Sharif together. And, Reed didn't foul as much the other day as he has in the past, and that was a good sign as well. So little things like that can lead to big things, and hopefully it'll show up in the SEC tournament.
Coach, we were mentioning times of the year. And a big Saturday morning in October on a big college football game is tough to compete with. But I believe that this time of the year, during conference tournament, going into the March Madness tournament, going into the postseason tournament, you got spring football, NFL draft, NBA playoffs. The Masters is just a little bit of about a month away. You have had a team in the hunt many a times this part of the year. How good is this? How good is this season to somebody like you?
How good is what now?
How good is this part of the season?
Oh, it's the best time for college basketball, obviously. You know, my crescendo is SEC tournament through the NCAA tournament, and then I love to watch the Masters. And after that, I'm nothing against baseball, but I'm not a guy who can sit down and watch a 4-hour game of anything. So
my man's on the move.
Yeah, after the Masters, I'm a little disappointed till something else cranks up, maybe in football, in August or something.
Yeah.
So this is a great time, college basketball. The Final Four is in New Orleans, and I'm looking forward to that as well.
Coach John Brady will be on the call for LSU and the winner of Missouri and Ole Miss. That game will tip off at 1:30 on Thursday. Tigers win there. They'll face the Hogs on Friday. All of that action will be called on the LSU Sports Radio Network with John Brady and Chris Blair. I loved Blair's call at the end of the game on Saturday. My man was going after Nate Oates in that game-winning call on Saturday. Somebody tell Nate Oates to get out of here. Tigers win. Great call, man. Y'all do great work. It's great to listen to you guys. Have a great trip to Tampa. We'll talk soon.
All right, my friend. Thanks.
Yes, sir. There he is, John Brady, checking in this morning as Coach Brady was also an SEC legend where he was featured at this tournament a couple of years ago for his time. 11 seasons on the sidelines with LSU basketball. Did great work there, and we appreciate him. Don't forget our friend Gordon McKernan has changed the way that NIL is thought of down here in Baton Rouge, in and around LSU. I was in his office yesterday, and he had calls coming in from representation from all over the state. I didn't know this, and I think we get lost in this down here and just being from Baton Rouge. He signed up baseball players at Louisiana Tech. He signed up a couple of football players over at UL, and he signed a couple of gymnasts up over here at Louisiana recently. He's in talks and negotiations with athletes at Southeastern and all over the state, Nichols, all over the state of Louisiana. So it's not just here where Gordon is really flexing his NIL muscle. He's doing it all over the state of Louisiana. He has become almost the NIL ambassador for the state of Louisiana. I know that we all kind of see the LSU stuff that's going on. And look, man, he's got everybody from Ali Gay to Keyshawn Butte to Kyron Lacey, some of the guys that have transferred in, Miles Frazier, who have come in here. But also Alexis Morris is on that client list as well. There's some track and field athletes that are a part of Gordon's NIL push and initiative. So a lot of cool things going on over there at Gordon McKernan's law office, where they've really changed the game up with NIL, and we appreciate their partnership over here. Whenever we talk about NIL and whenever we feature NIL, we recognize that Gordon has really done a lot of good work in that space to bring attention. In fact, we've got an event coming up on March 22nd that we are very appreciative to be a part of. Chase Chabot, who is a friend of the show, is putting on, he's an event coordinator, is putting on an NIL event at Lod Cook at 11 o'clock on March 22nd, 11:30, sorry. We'll be there for 11 o'clock. But on March 22nd at 11:30, there will be a live NIL event, which will feature business owners, administrators. It'll be on LSU's campus. And it will be questions that will be answered by LSU advisors, LSU people that are within the power structure of NIL. So if you're looking for something to do, if you're looking for more information on name, image, and likeness and how your business can become involved with NIL and athletes in and around LSU, well, then mark it down. March 22nd at Lod Cook. We will get you the link so you can get in with the tickets, but the date and time and the place is March 22nd, 11:30 a.m. on LSU's campus at Lod Cook Hotel and Conference Center. Right? Yes, and I will be the MC of the event. New tooth
will be shining out.
New tooth, smiling ear to ear, bro. Don't let me get a pair of pearly whites. Don't let me get pearly whites.
New tooth scooting.
That's right, man. I'll stop talking to everybody kind of like this. But I know that Mackenzie Landry from Match Point, Crystal Faircloth from Match Point, the president of Walk-Ons, and I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the panel, but it is a very impressive panel of business owners and people who are educated in the space of NIL. Taylor Jacobs from LSU, who is the NIL, who is the most important piece Taylor Jacobs from LSU, who has done incredible work with kind of behind the scenes of what's going on with LSU and NIL. She will be there, a part of the panel as well. So March 22nd, 11:30, coming up at the Lod Cook Hotel and Conference Center on campus at LSU. If you are looking for lunch plans and to get some good information about NIL, mark it down, and we'll see you there. And we appreciate them including us. And as always, working with Gordon on this NIL stuff. It's cool to go over there and have, to go see him really kind of in action and working. Yesterday had a chance to spend a little bit of time with him in his office and pick his brain on some of the things and the growth that we have going on over here at FM Digital Media, and being able to kind of wrap our arms around it and make sure that we're pushing it in the right direction, and everybody is doing that in unity. By the way, you look up this morning and Vince Vaughn and Greg Olson and Ryan Khalil are starting a digital media company. Tom Brady's raising money for starting a digital media company. Look around. I mean, the media game is entirely changing, and we feel like at FM Digital Media, we've got a really cool seat right now, but we want to make sure and stay at the forefront of that. And, conversations like that we had with Gordon yesterday on just handling growth and him kind of being a mentor for us in that space is really cool. And to see the way that he's evolved from, being one of the top attorneys. And look, I'm not here to talk about anybody and whether you like, dislike, and everybody has their opinion. But he's very successful, and he is very passionate about the state of Louisiana and intercollegiate athletics as dealing with NIL. And to see the way that his business model is kind of transformed and moved in that direction, and having a chance to see him in that role as a leader, and on some Zoom calls yesterday with representation from his firm and from sports agencies across the country was really cool. I mean, it was really informative. It was knowledge building, skill building, but to just see the passion that he has for that space. It's not just Keishawn Butte. It's not just Ali Gay.
Clearly,
it is a lot more than that. It's going to be wild to see what his model looks like in a year. I really do believe, and I think he's going to be a sports agent. I think that he is. I don't even know if he's setting himself up to do that, but I think that naturally his personality and what he's doing, the relationships that he's forming with these athletes, because it's all about trust, right? Like, that relationship is nothing about more than trust. And Matuk can give you more insight and better insight than I can on it. But it's just some of the closest relationships that you have in business. Think about the guy that handles, or the lady that handles your money, that advises you on your money, or the one that keeps your money, right? I mean, how much trust has to go into that relationship? Right? I think the foundation is being built for that, in a lot like what Gordon is doing for us, right? I mean, Gordon has become a line and a mentor for us that we can pick up the phone and ask, hey, if you have some time, could you sit down with us and answer some questions? And I think he has that relationship with a lot of these athletes that is going into building the trust of what they need to have, the security that they're looking for to get out into the real world, right? Like, I mean, it's a lot easier to do business with somebody that you're comfortable and familiar with, that understands who you are and your personality and what your expectations are, rather than having to go and redo that process after you've already gone through it, right? I mean, what are these contracts anyway? I mean, all of these contracts they're slotted. The money value is slotted. It's all compared on what last year's was compared to this year's is. I'm just talking about the football component of it. Really, I mean, I know that there's different sports and there's different athletes. He represents Trey Morgan. Trey Morgan's going to be a high-round MLB draft pick. MLB's, at the table right now, going back and forth, and what their collective bargaining agreement's going to look like. So I don't know, necessarily what it looks like in that space, but I do know that, there's not a lot of negotiation that has to happen on the money side when you're talking about the contracts between player and franchise, in at least that first one. And if you got the security of the trust of somebody who understands that space, can handle you, all of your legal components by just what their everyday duties are, well, that takes a lot of relief off of that relationship. It's going to be wild to see what that relationship turns into, what that business model turns into in a year. I don't necessarily know if he has the clear answer. I'd imagine that he has some feeling and aspiration of what he wants from it. But even today, I still think that it's a little cloud because it's so quickly changing, and he's such a force in the space. And it's not just about Kayshawn. It's about managing some of these professional careers after sports. His phone is ringing all day long with people asking, can you help? Can I be involved? I want to be a part of the team.
I'm picturing you and Gordon sitting in his office with like a bunch of secretaries just sitting around.
God, if we could have put together a flag football team or a football team back in the day. If you look at what he did, you look at what he did. No. I'm just talking about his recruiting power. I get so much of his personality of that part. He is constantly looking for the best in whatever space he's in. I didn't really know how to much.
Gordon McCarran of flag football.
Well, if you look at the University High football team and the state championship run they went on the last couple of years.
That's true.
And people are surprised by the way that Gordon's handling NIL. He was doing it 5-6 years ago with U High football. You know what I mean?
First merry-go-round.
We got the business model put in place. I got 3 rings for you guys. What else you want?
3 rings at LSU.
You know what I mean? But if we had the negotiating power behind us that Gordon has, dude, we'd be a traveling squad.
Yes.
We'd be a traveling squad.
Oh my God.
We'd be a traveling squad for sure. But I didn't mean to get off on I didn't mean to get off on a rant there, but it is interesting to see just kind of how that's changing, man. How that space is changing, how that model is changing, how that the format of college athletes and the business part of it.
Football athletes.
Got to get to them young, bro.
Exciting.
Were you a duck? Hell yeah, I was a duck. We'll take him.
Quack.
All right, remember, so we're brought to you by Relief Med. Get over to Relief Med, RELEAFmed.com, Relief Med. Use the promo code Jordy1. They got some new product over there if you want to get by and check out what they have over online at reliefmed.com. You can shop online, set up the pickup for you in a time window that's that works for you, that is convenient for you. The local shop here in Baton Rouge, the dispensary is located on Picardy Avenue, right in between Essen and Bluebonnet. So if you want to set up the time that you might be in that area, you can swing by Relief Med, use the promo code Jordy1, and you will receive 20% off of your initial purchase over there. RELEAFmed.com. RELEAFmed.com is how you get in touch with them online to pick up your latest from the medical marijuana here in Louisiana.
Our guy.
Steadily got my eyes open for that guy. I don't see him. I don't see him moving around.
Not around. He needs to hook up with the girl in the GoFlow ad, too.
I was thinking that while I ran the GoFlow ad. I was like, where are these people in Baton Rouge? I don't
They're not.
Jesus. That guy running through the mountains. Like, okay, sure.
They're not local.
No, but I wonder if they know each other.
Maybe.
Running for the same ad industry.
Yeah, getting their photos.
They make a hell of a couple.
They would. Make
Beautiful.
some good babies.
Beautiful.
All right, so tonight LSU baseball facing off against McNeese. That'll be at the box, and then tomorrow night nothing. LSU basketball is waiting on the winner of Missouri and Ole Miss, which will be tomorrow night. Katie claims put all your money on Mizzou.
Ooh, yeah, can I bet on that?
Sure.
Ooh,
absolutely. Yeah. As long as you don't play for the team.
That's right.
Hey,
dude, my favorite tweet from all that is like, fine, I'll just come back healthier.
Yeah, a lot of people think that he was, because he dealt with some stuff off the field this past year, some mental stuff. His mental health, he was kind of focusing
Addicted
on.
to gambling.
And I saw yesterday there were some reports like, he's just using this to get out of the league for not being called soft. It's just like, all right, man. But I think that this on paper, as we said, is collectively bargained. So there's no wiggle room for a guy like Calvin Ridley on this type of stipulation. It's clearly there, put down on paper. If you break the rule, this is the consequence. He bet on football, you get a year suspension. So I do get that part. But it is wild, and we talked a little bit about this coming into the show. And I don't know if we were able to put the link up here from Brant's article at SI.com, kind of painting the picture of the Washington football team and looking at the stuff that has seemingly been covered up by the National Football League. It looks like they are covering up, the communication with Daniel Snyder and the environment that he had created within his franchise. And it's pretty obvious after reading the links in the document, if we want to post that inside of our chat app. But it is obvious after reading that John Gruden, while using disgusting, descriptions and language in private email, that he was obviously the fall guy. I mean, there was they were pointing over there to distract you from what was going on over here, right? Like they were telling, yes, keep looking at Gruden, keep looking at Gruden. They're firing Gruden. He's never going to coach again. And here's what he said. Here's another thing he said. Here's something else he said.
More screenshots.
This is a decade ago. This is 7 years ago. This is 4 years ago. This is 3 years ago. Keep just funneling you Gruden stuff. Meanwhile, the owner, right? Like the one of 32 that has this special privilege is using his work environment, his football franchise as a
brothel.
Yeah, I mean, just pretty much he's using it to run prostitution. I mean, he has this mindset to him that he can walk around and tell females how to dress. He can put them on private planes. He can put cheerleaders on private planes and ask them to do, certain things that, may not. Just use your imagination. He's painting and cultivating an environment that is where sexual harassment is not only not governed, but it's by the top. It's almost accepted.
It's expected.
Expected, right? That's the word I was trying to use. Not accepted, expected.
You won't get accepted if you don't.
That's exactly right.
Yeah,
you won't be allowed into the club.
You don't assault women,
right?
Can't come in
unless you tell them to wear a tighter dress or to pull the top down a little more. I mean, some of the stuff that he was getting away with, some of the stuff he was doing. I mean, it was just he had no repercussions. He had no consequence. He had nobody telling him like, "Hey, man, we're going to take your franchise away from you if you think you can run it like this." And it looks like that's what the NFL was covering up, right? Like that we either have to paint this onto somebody and put this squarely on the shoulders of a fall person.
Football's favorite son.
It is going to get, we are going to expose the dirty little secrets of the league, which is the stuff on the field is really just kind of a cover-up for all the stuff that's happening in the back office.
He's so jealous of Hugh Hefner.
Yes.
Crazy.
That's just who he wanted to be.
I mean,
Clearly.
Which, have you seen the series on Hef on A&E?
No.
There's a 10-part series on Hef on A&E who is getting posthumously canceled.
Oh, really?
For sure.
Yes?
Absolutely.
Oh.
That's too bad.
I mean,
he's dead.
Yeah, but I mean, they are.
You're sure?
They are
pretty sure. Right?
They are digging
Might have a
into
clone.
past relationships. They're bringing back people who are painting the, just kind of the environment of what the Playboy Mansion was. They're kind of painting this.
We all know what
this
the
scene
environment was.
How often did they clean that pool, do you
Ew.
think?
I don't know.
The grotto.
They do tell the stories of the hands that had to go up there and clean post orgy.
Oh.
Like every day, like
what do you think they were doing, Katie?
Like what was going on? This is these are the types of secrets that you're like starting to learn. Like this was the lifestyle.
But we knew,
the mansion.
right?
No, you obviously you didn't.
About.
You did
well,
not.
I mean,
you
really
obviously you did. I mean,
thought about it.
Well, I mean, you didn't.
Like
She
there's a
heard
big orgy,
Playboy,
someone
thought it
has
was
to
a
clean up.
playhouse.
Who's
Right. Like
cleaning
I mean,
up?
it wasn't just the big parties, right?
It
I mean,
smells like bleach in here. Let's bring more bleach.
Just people on staff that were running drugs, people on staff that were, I mean, it was
Exactly
Nothing
what you think it
surprising.
is.
Is
Nothing
exactly what you
surprising.
think it is.
Party
but
house.
the real life stories of it and the real life people that were involved in it,
Make it not as fun.
you know.
But shouldn't we be celebrating Calvin Ridley for betting on his team to win? Isn't that just giving him an incentive to play harder if he were to play? Like, isn't that what you want? I read from that, there's a piece by Roger Sherman on The Ringer, and he was like, they can gamble on fantasy football. They put fantasy football teams together, and they dole out money.
Yeah.
But what isn't just, playoff incentives? Isn't that just incentivizing, isn't that just money line gambling? Like to go get 100 yards? That's
Well,
a
you
player
can never
prop.
have your employees betting on the product ever. And I understand what the hard line is. You never can have that, man. I mean, that's never. You can never allow an environment where you encourage or
To get bet on yourself.
yeah, you can't do that, man, because you're not going to have the one that bets on them. I get it. Like, yeah, I love the fact that he's betting on himself, and there really should be no repercussion from betting on yourself. He wasn't throwing the game, but don't think that that's going to trigger the light bulb into somebody and say, well, I won't make the play and I'll take more money, right? Because I'm not making as much money as Calvin Ridley is. I'm not making $13-12 million a year. And
But you better be making some plays then. Don't be throwing the game.
well, I'm making the league minimum and I'm accessible. You have access to me. You know what I mean? Make me an offer. I'll listen.
Oh, you're talking about like the bookie. Like
Sure.
you can get somebody can get to him.
Absolutely.
What was the 30 for 30 on what basketball at college basketball?
Boston
team?
College.
Arizona
Yeah.
State.
Arizona State?
Yeah, it's like a new Netflix documentary out.
But
that,
there was
like,
there
that
was also
shows about the
a
Arizona State guys too.
and there was
know about
also
that one. That's what I'm
a
talking
point
about.
shaving scandal in the Northeast that included Henry Hill.
Yeah.
Goodfellas.
Yeah.
I mean, he was behind. I mean, he was the guy that was behind it.
Well, that's when they said they walked into the door.
Bruce Pearl was a young assistant on Boston College staff.
The story that Pearl is going to write when
I'm
he's done
telling
with
you.
sports.
I'm telling
No.
you.
Staying on his good side.
Pearl
Jacked.
is the
good looking
gangster.
guy. Yes.
He is the one.
How did we go from this to Playboy Mansion to back to this?
That's what makes
Where
the
did the
show
Playboy
great.
Mansion come in?
Speaking of Playboy Mansion, we were talking about the Lakers show. The
Oh,
first
yeah.
scene, Jerry Buss wakes up in the Playboy Mansion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
half
he's
his-
like,
dude.
And he's like talking to the
awesome.
chick, and he's like, "I'm about to buy the Lakers." Like, he literally wakes up and he's like,
Well,
"I'm about to
in the
buy
book-
Lakers."
Yeah.
in
because
the
he's
bo-
watching basketball
in the book, the night that he buys the Lakers, because with the Lakers came the Great Western Forum, the
Yeah,
arena.
he bought
like the
forum
team
and
and the
team.
arena together. And I want to say that he slept in the middle of the floor.
Yeah, he had to
Like
give.
he-
Yeah, he had to give up a lot to get that too.
Yeah.
Like,
Everything.
he
All-
gave up
all his
everything,
real estate,
and he called his
everything.
ex-wife to get money.
Yeah.
Like,
$2 million.
You know
If
who-
that's true. Is
you-
it true, Noah?
You
Is
know
all
who?
this-
You know who
Jordy read
advised
the book.
You know who advised
Oh,
him. You
well,
know
is
who-
it true?
Yeah, you know who advised him to buy the Lakers?
Donald Sterling.
Donald Sterling.
Yeah, Donald Sterling makes an appearance. He makes an
Yeah.
appearance in the show in
Yeah.
the first
Big
episode.
Magic Johnson.
Yeah, he meets Magic Johnson, and he's like rubbing on. He like looks at him like a piece of meat. He's like, "Oh my god!" And Jerry Buss is like, "Whoa, now hands off the product."
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that was Sterling. That was
Yeah.
that was kind of his shtick. I mean, he used to bring his investors down in the locker room and like look at the players like they were like pieces of art.
Yeah.
Like he would like pet them.
Yeah,
You know,
the
be
way- the
like,
way he touched
"Get the hell
Magic,
off
he,
of me,
like,
old
pet
man."
him.
Yeah,
you're like,
that's weird.
but yes, Sterling was the one who advised, or at least pointed to, because Jerry Buss kept trying to buy his team, because he owned the San Diego Clippers at the time,
Oh.
and Sterling, all that stuff that like caught up with Sterling, like that was what was happening in his life. He was like setting these standards from these apartment complexes that he lived in, where he was like a blatant racist. You know what I mean? Like it was blatant that he was just like setting these rules and regulations to set in prime like how much money that people were making to keep people out, right? Like he was segregating people on their income status. It was some grimy stuff, man. And Sterling was the one that told Buss, like, leave me alone, buy the Lakers, man. Like, if you want to buy a team, buy the Lakers. And Buss, like in
Put
one of
all
his
this shit together.
drug
Buy the-
orgy fueled half nights at the Playboy Mansion, woke up and said, you know what?
Oh, we'll buy the
I'm
Lakers.
buying the Lakers today.
What a decision.
Yeah, Magic was looking at one of the girls, and he told him, he was like, I put her through college.
Yeah. Like,
Sterling?
Paid for everything.
Or Jerry Buss.
Buss.
Oh yeah.
Buss, yeah.
Well, I mean, Buss used to show. I mean, in Showtime, when Showtime was Showtime, he'd show up and he was like half. He had like 8 girlfriends. Like he would show up with like 8
Didn't he
blondes.
invent the Laker girls? Like,
He invented the Laker
Yeah.
girls. He invented the Great Western Forum had a nightclub in it that was like it was well known. Like when you went to
That's
play
AIDS.
it was that's exactly right. When you went to play the Lakers, like other players were like telling stories like how they had to like get ready because like more people were concerned about getting into it was called the Forum Club. And more people were worried about whether or not they were going to be allowed in to the Forum Club to party after the game. And it would like take them totally out of the game. It would take them like they would totally be either partied out from the night before or they'd be so stressed and worried of whether or not they were getting into the post-game party at the Forum. They didn't even have to leave the gym. You didn't have to leave the arena. And the stories of like early Magic in that book, which this is Jeff Pearlman's Showtime book, which is what this is based off of. This HBO series is based off of Pearlman's book, which is firsthand accounts from all of them. Like Pat Riley's in the book, Jerry Buss is in the book, Magic Johnson's in the book, Kareem's in the book. I mean, Michael Cooper's in the book. All of these people, Jeannie Buss is in the book. I mean, all of these people are firsthand quoted. Yes, Jeannie is the freak that you think she is.
She is.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
She's like
she
begging
is.
to work for the
She
Lakers.
is,
She's
absolutely.
like, please.
Yes, I want to run the Lakers. But I mean, like young Jeannie.
Can't blame her.
Young Jeannie was like hanging out with Magic. You know, like Magic was like almost like Jeannie's babysitter. You know, I mean,
How cool would that be?
Jerry Buss like adopted Magic Johnson. You know what I mean? Like he was just
Gave him the highest
everything.
contract at
Yeah,
that
I mean,
time.
yeah, everything. I mean, bought him a Mercedes. Bought him his first. I mean, like it was. The book is nuts. And when Magic Johnson and Orlando Woolridge was the guy, like on the early teams that were they were partying together. Like that was kind of Magic's buddy. And when Magic showed up to LA, like he was like a small town,
Yeah, he's from Michigan.
like a country Midwestern kid. You know what I mean? Like he shows up and I mean, even
Black Larry Bird.
even in the book,
Yeah.
you know, like he's like, I roll in and I mean, I have no idea what I am walking into. And a month later, he's running with Jerry Buss at the Playboy Mansion and he's got LA eating out of the palm of his hand. I mean, like he's got the city of Los Angeles at 21 years old. He's probably 21 at the time, eating out of the palm of his hand. And the next decade is just, you read about it in Pearlman Showtime. You can now watch it on HBO.
Is it only one episode at a time?
Yeah.
I think it is one episode.
Yeah, there's
a
only
week.
one out.
It's tough.
Good for them. HBO, you did
I
it
know,
again.
right?
Dogs.
They know what they're doing.
Sunday nights?
Sunday night.
Yeah, it took the
Right.
place of Euphoria.
Right after Euphoria ends. That's how you program.
Perfect.
8
I just
o'clock?
started Euphoria.
8 o'clock on a Sunday
I
night?
think it's 8 o'clock. It might
Yeah.
be. It might be a little earlier.
Hour or 30 minutes?
It's like hour.
Hour.
I'm in.
It's
Watching,
great.
I'm watching it tonight.
All in.
It's
I'm
great.
all in.
I was
Gotta
going to read
watch
the
it.
book, but here we go. Thank you, technology.
Who's
Neat.
who's Riles? Riles is played by who's the
Pat Riley. Adrian Brody.
Yeah,
plays
Adrian
Pat
Brody.
Riley.
Yeah, Adrian
Pat Riley.
Brody.
Adrian Brody.
Jason Clark plays Jerry West, and he is a maniac. Like he has the trophy from when they lost the NBA Finals to the Celtics, and he goes crazy after they draft Magic, and he throws it out his window and like breaks it.
Yeah, I wonder, did that really happen?
Yes.
Did he really not
The
want
stories
Magic?
about West were like in the book are crazy. During games, he would drive around the Forum and smoke packs of cigarettes
he
because
so
he was so
angry?
stressed.
So nervous.
Like,
Why?
like reading this book, like, dude, you're the logo. What do you
I
care?
know.
about?
I never knew that until last night that he's the logo guy.
He's like he was pissed about that too.
I know. Nothing.
Yeah,
He's
Jared
nothing
She's
He
makes
didn't get
him
a cut.
happy.
Yeah, he's like pissed about it.
Why
Didn't
is
he-
he so mad?
Probably didn't he lose a bunch of finals in a row?
Yeah,
How many
he
times
lost
has
a
he
lot.
been?
What's
Yeah.
I'm telling you, he lost all Bill Russell and the
Yeah.
Celtics.
So that's why he's angry.
And, like,
just
Pissed.
forever.
He only
angry.
won one. I mean, like,
I mean, he went
he went, I want to say, like,
7 or 8 times.
went a
what I
lot.
thought.
Well,
There's
why is he
pictures
the
of him
guy
shooting,
with
and
the
he's
logo?
like, "I missed that shot. Missed that shot."
because when the NBA was trying to establish their brand and trying to establish, you know, who they were on the scene, he was one of their top players. And I mean, they have the image when they catch it. Like he's in the open floor and they stop
show
and
it.
pause it. There was a big push to make Kobe the new NBA logo, which I fully support.
Yeah,
I would
for
love
sure.
that. I would love.
What's his logo? What would be his move?
They had the open floor dunk, the windmill dunk, where he was kind of like he had it back, and his shorts were he had the baggy shorts on. You saw kind of the fro. You know, I mean, I would be be all in on that.
Yeah.
I would be all in on that.
Instead of an angry white guy.
That's him.
Times are changing.
Yeah. Yeah. There it is.
Golly, he's old there on the right.
Those
man.
socks, right?
Awesome.
The uniforms. I love them. I love the uniforms.
And I believe it's what Stu, I saw it on your computer because I'm over here and I'm like a teacher. That it's the 12-year anniversary maybe of the Kobe Bryant. Matt Barnes.
Matt Barnes, yeah, the ball.
12 years.
How many years was it? I don't.
I think it was 12 years.
Oh geez, we're getting hacked in the chat, I guess, because we're talking
sex
about
stuff?
the Playboy Mansion.
Let's go.
They're targeting you though, Jordy.
Oh, the new tooth.
Jordy, why you scam me on your OnlyFans?
Come back at 3 and find out.
That's amazing. There's so many.
Yeah, she's going. Oh, she deleted.
Wait, what?
Oh, there she goes.
Message,
Noah,
message rescinded.
What is happening?
Noah deleted her.
Oh, Noah, you did? That's cool.
Move, Noah.
Red Face's 27th cousin. Sorry, girl.
Red face? I thought there was
Tyrann Matthew to the Saints? We all in?
Yes.
I'm all in.
Sounds like Matthew's in.
Sounds like Matthew's in.
Is it for real, though?
If he's in, I'm in.
Do they have the cap?
I think he's putting pressure on the Chiefs. I know that Sunday it was
she's back.
I thought-
Another one.
I thought it was. I know it's reported on Sunday that he's not going back to the Chiefs. I still think there's an opportunity.
But what about all the tweets and deleting them and all that business?
Oh, Tyra? Mm-hmm. What do you tweet?
I'm showing you. I'm pulling it up.
Let that man find an apartment first, get settled before you ask him to fill these size 10.5 Jordan 1s.
That's a fucking mic drop.
I mean, that is.
And he deleted it.
Quit fucking with me, man. Are y'all out of your mind messing with me?
And he said something else too, where he said, he wrote it on Twitter, like, and all of these are deleted now, but he goes, replacing me is easy. Get them to do the
that's
same
my
thing
favorite
I do
one.
on Sunday is damn near impossible.
Oh, yeah.
The more y'all speak on me, the more I realize how much y'all don't know. I like that one.
Thank you, Cody Boudreaux, for the $5 super chat on the Russian bots that are invading
They really are.
the chat right now.
Jeez.
Good Lord, we're under attack.
The UDO is under attack.
It is.
Another $5 super chat.
I do not have OnlyFans.
What is happening?
Maybe. Maybe in another life.
Did see where the most searched porn genre was hairy dads.
No.
Where'd you
you're
see
lying
that?
Right now. You're lying.
Where-
You just made that up.
Let me search it.
Yeah,
Stop
let me
it.
see.
Right?
Let me
Hairy
check
dads, the
Where did
most
you-
searched porn genre during quarantine. I get it,
I
bro.
don't believe that.
Shit falls through in FM Digital Media. We could go OnlyFans, red face, lippy sister. But we are still confident in the business model over here at FM Digital Media that we're going to make it.
Mouthy cousin. Why are there so many names? Noah, do something.
No one do something. Help us.
Help us. Lippy sister.
What even is hairy dad porn?
I mean, I guess it's
Sure.
porn with
Sure.
hairy dads.
Sure,
Sure.
Lloyd.
It's
Sure.
like Austin Powers.
Go ahead and ask the question in public to go ahead and cover up your search list. We get it, bro. We get it. I know.
I can't get
it's not
any.
about you.
You can't show nipples
Golly,
on the
No,
stream.
don't you show your nipple.
I'm sure that'll get you taken off the YouTube.
Yeah, I bet.
The tuber, huh?
You can't
Oh,
see it.
wow. I'm not a bot.
Oh shit! Did they
I'm
say
scared.
that Cynthia? I'm not a bot. We have feelings. They're listening. This is like the Turing test.
That's weird, right? I don't know.
Let's get the hell out of here, huh?
Scared.
Yeah. Have a good day. I'm going to
I'm
get my
gonna hang
tooth
out for a
fixed.
little bit.
You hanging?
Yeah, I'll talk to them.
Hairy dads, bro.
Yeah.
Hairy dads.
I'm
Yeah.
not
You're
their
filling a
type.
hole over there,
Yeah,
huh?
yeah. There's a niche I can fill. Red face.
That's right.
Are they paying
You
me?
braid that strand or what?
Like Allen Iverson.
Have a great day. Make sure to hit the like and share button. And the bots, DM us.
Yeah. Are they
So
looking for
Lippy
payment?
sister.
Show nips, please.
Yeah.
Asking for nips.
Oh, no, we can't show nips. We can't
no
show
nips.
feet. We
The
can show
bot
feet.
asked for nips?
No nips.
Yeah, the bot texting for
Wow,
nips.
they're listening.
This is weird.
That is
Yeah, it
so
is.
They
weird.
usually don't respond.
It is. Let's get out of here.
Please exit the UDL. All right.
We'll be back here tomorrow.
We will
Go
talk.
Chevrolet. Drive empowering us every day.
Come pick us up.
Yeah. Harry Dads.
Harry Dads.